Avast ahoy and g'day once again to ye mateys! I be your lackadaisical and insouciant host, Josh the Pirate, and it brings me a non-trivial amount of pleasure to welcome you back to Corsair's Cove and Tactics Tyrsday. With me I have my loyal matey and jolly good friend, Brendan. Brendan, who the absolute heck are you?
Ahoy! I'm Brendan. I am an actor and director here in Perth. I also feature on Humblewood of Floss and Fire on Thursday nights. No, Monsters and Magic is what I'm in.
That's the one.
There's a lot of alliteration. It gets confusing. But yes, I'm in on Thursdays, and that's a lot of fun. And this Thursday is our season finale, which is very exciting. I can't wait for Eric to die and make a new character live on stream.
Yep. No promises on the this Thursday. At this point, this is a maybe. Karen and I both have COVID. There is a non-zero chance that we will both be too ill to perform on Thursday night. Even though I don't have to do very much prep, because it's all already done and you're mid-combat. But there is still some prep to do.
Yes.
And, I need to say hi to Wheatbelt and Captain Kazi. Thank you very much for joining us, you bloody champions. That's who Brendan is, and Madame et Monsieur, Dame und Herren, of beings of indeterminate gender and persuasion, I be Josh the Pirate. You can find me here on my cat channel, Corsair's Cove, where I play D&D and I talk about other RPG systems that I want to play. This one is definitely on the list. This is crying out for a one-shot Wednesday, and a really easy one at that, because it only requires 2 people. Other than that, you can find me in the podcast There Be Dragons, where I play the infamous and deadly pirate Scan Felspar und his little dragon, Rush. And I run an awful lot of Humblewood. We are just starting up a new Humblewood campaign Monday night. We are just finishing off a different Humblewood campaign on Thursday night, maybe, if not next Thursday. Dan will kill me if that happens, though, because it'll mean he'll be playing 2 or 3 games in the next week. I'm going to be over on Ardana's channel tomorrow night playing some D&D with the dreaded GM, and I promise I'll be good for that. I haven't gotten any worse in the last 12 hours, so I expect I really, really hope I have reached peak unwell, which really isn't too bad, so I imagine there may be more to come. It's really just sort of tired and sore and achy, but Karen's been flat on her back for 4 days. And tonight, I also need to mention, before we go any further, the Ukrainian people. Because they are having a bit of a rough time right now. As you may be aware, Russia has invaded Ukraine. Over 11 million people are homeless because of that, and we're doing what we can about that. So if you want to head over to the emergencyactionappeal.org, you can donate to support those people. They've raised over $4 million so far to help the Ukrainians fleeing violence, which is freaking awesome. $2 million was donated by the Australian government. Yay for election years. We're all so cynical. But it's true. If you've got any coins in your digital wallet, then please consider chucking it over there, because those people need all the help they can get. Thanks very much, bloody champions. Also, we have all the socials. You can check us out on them. We have the YouTube. It is almost up to date. Last night's episode has been edited. I just need to upload it. I'm good keeping on top of that stuff. And if you want to join us on the Dis of Chords, you can. The Dis of Chords and the Tube of You. And the So of Shials.
Sure, yeah, no, commit.
Sounds great. The Shials of So. I don't know. And I do also need to shout out Sirenscape, who are currently providing our music. Lovely. It's a really handy thing, even if you're not playing D&D. If you just want to listen to cool, mildly techno vibes, you can, and that's fun. It's what I'm doing. Well, mateys, let's dive straight into it. So, back to this side of us. This is Brendan's call. I hecking love it. I was like, hey, Brendan, you want to do this? And he was like, yeah. And I was like, cool, all right, what do you want to talk about? And he's like, I've got this cool idea. And I was like, for $5? Sure, I'll have a look. It's got a mech on the front. Hell yeah. So, Brendan, tell me about Last Shooting. What the heck is this?
It's something that I came across during my perusal of podcasts and stuff, actually about something entirely unrelated, but the podcast host was like, oh, by the way, I've done this little thing. So it sounded...
Oh, the podcast host wrote it?
Yes.
Oh.
Yes. A host of a JoJo's Bizarre Adventure podcast, no less. So yeah, that's what this is. It is a strictly two-player game. Before I had read it, I had heard that and thought, oh yeah, but you could probably like expand it to have more people or to have a GM, but you really can't. It's really designed as more so than a game, as a narrative collaboration, which is how I view D&D anyway.
Yeah.
Except a bit more gamified and a bit more structured.
It's also a lot more interconfrontational.
Yeah, so look, I'll just kind of summarize it. Basically, and we'll go through a lot of the steps and stuff tonight, but essentially you are two mech pilots, either on opposing sides of some kind of conflict or on the same side, but you have confrontations with each other. Either way, it is strictly adversarial. And you have three primary scenes where you have these confrontations, and one person has to win, one person has to lose, and to decide who wins and who loses, you define and bid different elements of your character, basically. Yeah. There's a whole bunch of blank spaces on your character sheet, which, apart from the very basics like your name and stuff like that, everything else you leave undefined until it comes time to bid. And at which point you say, my
I've
mech
got this.
Is this, or this is my special move, or something like that.
Yeah.
And then it becomes defined, and then you can later on choose to destroy those things to bid them again. So that's how, and you kind of continue to outbid each other until the two of you have to decide, well, who do I think won this bid?
Yeah.
And from there, that's all the kind of mechanics done, and then the two of you kind of, having already decided who the winner is, you narrate this combat sequence, essentially.
It uses a lot of the terminology of poker or like cards, and so you up the ante, and you can only do that a certain number of times in each scene. Each scene has a different amount that you can do that in. And my one question that it wasn't really answered, and I had to look quite thoroughly, is how many things you can bid per bid. Because my impression was only one, but later on there was sort of, it alluded to you can do it as many times, you can destroy as many things as you like, and I was just like, it feels like there isn't much, that there is a lot that you could do, and you wind up defining an awful lot about the thing by the end of it.
Yeah, so there is actually, starting on page 17, a walkthrough of how the scenes play out.
Yeah.
And it does have, I'm just trying to look for it. Oh yes, in that section it mentions the auction, which is the part where the winner gets decided. And it does say there, so the scene 1 auction, each player may raise a maximum of 2 times, and nobody may place a bid to destroy. So you each, as in poker, as Josh said, each player places 1 bid and then can choose to raise, which is just to add extra things to define. So yeah, there for the structuring of each scene, it kind of defines what that is. So scene 1 is 2 razors. Scene 2 is 2
3
razors.
Oh, if
and
you won.
3. Oh,
If you
yes.
won, you get 2, and if you lost, you get 3 razors.
Yes, and you can place 1 bid to destroy something. And the final one is 3 razors each, and they can make any number of bids to destroy.
But the first one has to be a bid to define.
Define, yes.
Yeah. I really like. It's a funny little thing, but the thing I really enjoy about all the terminology is that the clans in BattleTech use similar terminology. When they show up, they do trials. Basically, that's they're constantly fighting among themselves. A trial of possession or a trial of destruction is I'm here. And their wars are very, very formalized. And so you show up, you say, right, I'm here, I want to do this to you, I bid this, and this force, and you are on a bound to bid something not too dissimilar, that you think can win. But the clans regularly, because they're honourable, try to underbid, so try to put the minimum bid they can in, so that they can prove how great they are when they win anyway. But yeah, I just love that there was like this bidding system. I was like, this is fun because it just keeps going back to BattleTech in my head.
It wouldn't surprise me if that was intentional.
Yeah, well, I think it's because it's based on a system called what is the name of the system? It's because it's based on a different system. Final Bid. It is inspired by another game called Final Bid, which makes sense. I think you could make it work with more people, but it would have to be even numbers of people, and it would have to be teams. I think that could work. I don't think all v all would work. I also think audience and sort of other people could be utilized for judging who wins.
Yes, I think that this does suit a stream format quite well, actually.
Yeah, absolutely. So, is your interpretation that you can... I don't know why I've got the book covering up the... is your interpretation of the rules that you can only bid 1 item for every raise?
As in, each raise is a single thing.
Yes,
to be
you either
defined?
define or destroy 1 thing.
Yes.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
I had also misunderstood. I thought this is the character sheet insofar as there is one. Let's crank it down to 50%. There you are. That's the entire thing. I kind of love it. And all you do at the beginning is fill in this bit. You fill in the emblem, your motive, your name, call sign, age, gender, faction, mech, and production run. And you can do all that because it has no bearing at all on the outcome of the game, other than narratively. But this is a game for narrative geeks, absolutely. Because the premise is, once you've bid against each other, then you decide who's got the best bid between the two of you, which is where there is a degree of collaboration and a degree of being prepared to lose.
Yeah.
And being fair and honest, and you've got to be a good sport to play this one, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
The story is more important than your ego. You decide between the two of you who wins, and there is a tiebreaker resolution thing, where the first person to say, I destroyed this thing, wins. but then that person decides how all of the things that were bid or defined or destroyed impact the scene. And they tell the story of the scene, they narrate it. And so the other person, I would say, has some input, but it is at the end of the day, it is the winner's decision what happens, and then there is a minor benefit to having won. But I would not in any way suggest it was game-breaking. It was like, you get one thing, maybe. You can either do it to them or have it yourself. And you basically get to define one thing. And you have a small extra resource that you can, at a later point, destroy. I hadn't inferred that. I had inferred that you... And I believe you're right. It makes much more sense this way. But I thought you wrote down all of it. You filled in the entire sheet with the basics. Say, what kind of sensors does your tactical suite, does your mech have? You give it a name, and then you define that later. And you add detail. But no, I think yours makes much more sense. So it actually, a good portion of it may well stay blank.
Yes. Yeah. And
like their hobby may not come up.
Yes. And the writers do make a point of kind of saying that as well, that it's very possible that a lot of your character sheet will remain blank. I mean, I'm just going to take a look at the character sheet again, because there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So there's about 20, give or take, different fields to be defined. So, I mean, my maths off the top of my head is garbage, but I don't imagine that
you can only define 8 things in the whole course of the game if you don't destroy anything. If you win all 3 rounds, you could theoretically have 10 things defined. And even then, like, losing the first round actually gives you one. Anyway, so there's not a lot. And that's cool, I think. Sistra, we are playing, we're talking about Last Shooting, which is a really, really interesting game. And I think, actually, genuinely, Brendan, the only way to actually sort of discuss it in any meaningful amount is to play around.
Yeah, I think so too. What I will say is you can find this on DM's Guild.
Yep.
So, yeah, maybe rather than Google Last Shooting, a lot of depressing things have happened recently which may derail that Google search. Go to DM's Guild and look for Last Shooting on that.
If you Google Last Shooting RPG, you'll find it. I discovered that this morning. But it's also on DriveThruRPG for $5, which is a very reasonable price.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I was like, oh, cool, drop that. Today's been a good one for me. I picked this up. I also picked up Starship Warden from Troll Games, and yes, it's... The Warden is an enormous, like, kilometers and kilometers long spaceship designed to carry millions of colonists, and shit gets fucky. It's basically a self-contained space habitat where everything goes horribly wrong. So Sistra, it is a mech game. It is a 1v1 mech game, which is a collaborative storytelling game focus. There is no dice, there is no rolling, there is only a limited amount of even writing. An illiterate child could play this game. And probably be quite good at it, actually, because the vast majority of it actually requires imagination. There could be models, but it's just pen and paper. Because there is no... The primary mechanic is agreeing on stuff.
And to that end, you were talking a little bit about, like, the kind of people that you want to play this with before. If you play it with someone who likes to win games, then you're probably not going to have a great time, because it really does rely on both of you being willing to concede to each other when it becomes relevant. it's like I said kind of at the beginning of this, it's really less of a game and more of a structure for
a story,
for a two-player story, for a two-writer story. You were talking before about how the winner of each round is the person that, as the rules say, is the person that describes the entirety of the scene, which I don't super like. I think it would be a lot more interesting to have both players participate in that. In the description of it, but the winner being the person who has the final say. And kind of probably defines the climactic moment of the fight.
I mean, if both people are actually like agreed and like, because presumably to reach that point, you have come to a conclusion, have come to an agreement of who's winning, who did win it, and then so I don't see any reason why you wouldn't both want to be describing the best scene you could possibly envisage in which that person does win. Your mic is kind of low.
Is that better?
How dare I? It probably is. Yeah, the letters are very flowery. Yes. Tosh the pirate.
Yes. It does. Yeah, it does.
Yeah, it does a bit.
Like, yeah.
There is a T above it in tactics.
Yes.
No, that's all good. Don't worry. Celestra. No, that's totally fine. Don't worry. Yes. Brendan will speak up.
Yes.
I can pump the volume on Zoom, actually. Tell you what.
Sick.
No, all good.
Tell you what, I've never been told that I need to be louder before.
Yes, I'm regularly told I have to be quieter. Alrighty. Well, I suppose, we should probably just work our way through the rulebook a little bit and start and just play a round of it. Because I think that's really the best way to talk about how good it is. And agree before we even begin to be really nice and friendly about it.
Well, we have a chat full of referees here.
Yeah, this is
so
true.
Not that I think we'll need it.
So at the very, very beginning, which is an excellent place to start, the opening, it gives you a sort of a framework, a structure, a list of scenes to do. The opening is your chance to set the groundwork for your session of Last Shooting. Your time to consider tone, style, and all the things that set one mecha story apart from another. If you're playing this game, you probably have some favorite mecha series or moments. You've spent some time thinking about why they appeal to you. Have a conversation with the person you're playing with about their opinions and preferences as well. I definitely do have a favorite mecha system. It's obviously BattleTech, but I'm a pixelate y'all Corsair mech. Sick.
Nice.
Yeah, boy.
That's cool.
Done. Hell yeah. Yes. But yeah, mechs are a thing, and mechs have been a thing. I grew up on Power Rangers. And yeah, I was very interested watching a documentary, Toys, and like the third episode was about Power Rangers. The guy who didn't create them, he took the Japanese footage and then dubbed it, and directed scenes with European actors for the other bits. He is a billionaire.
Is that Saban?
I am Saban. Yeah. A very, very Jewish name, a very Jewish man, and has a very, very Jewish business sense. And by golly, like, he sold it for billions, then it went belly up, then he bought it back and made it worth billions again. I'm like, dude, you are fucking brilliant.
Is that the Toys That Made Us?
Yes.
Yeah, that's on Netflix as well. Yeah, very, very good series.
I think that is where I watched it. Yeah, it's very good.
They also have the movies that made us. Yeah, which is like Home Alone, Aliens, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, right. Yeah. The one about Lego is interesting as well. Like they didn't have grey bricks for years and years and years and years and years because Lego, as a family and a company, are massively anti-war, and they didn't want anybody making tanks out of their bricks.
Yeah, wow.
And I was like, that's really cool. Yeah, it didn't stop people. They just make green tanks.
Yes.
Come to think of it, though, you don't get very many green bricks either.
No, that's
I
true.
was like, I have a red tank. That's fine. Desert camo, yellow. Cool. Yeah, it's a good show.
So my experience of mech-based stuff is mainly just like stuff that was on TV as a kid. So your Power Rangers. I never got into any of the mech animes or anything
Gundam
where
or,
that lore is very
Neon Genesis.
very structured.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, none of that. I watched Pacific Rim for the first time
Oh, really?
a couple of months ago and hated it.
Oh, really?
Couldn't stand it. Yeah.
The second is fucking awful, but I adored the first. I watched that thing at the cinema 3 times, and this was when I was living in the UK, where you can drink in the cinema. Yeah, it was great. Me and my mate Brian went, and just 2 kids in a candy store, while our girlfriends were just like, this is awful. And we're like, it's a giant robot hitting a giant monster with a ship. There is no way the ship wouldn't just snap in half as well. There is so much wrong with just that single scene. It's just so dumb.
Look, the problem that I had with it is similar to a lot of the problems I have with those massive, big-scale kaiju fight films. Is I didn't like the human characters.
Oh yeah, yeah,
and to the point that they were idiotic.
Yes.
Bad stereotypes. I was watching with some friends and I saw the Russian team come on. I'm like, 100%. The Russians and the Asian team are gonna die in this first fight.
No
and
chance.
they're like, how did you know? I'm like, because movies.
Yes. Don't worry, there is an Asian woman. She's standing next to the white guy, so she's probably fine and hot.
The white guy that saves her multiple times.
Yeah.
Is this very experienced and very capable woman who gets
who's literally just there to be a second brain for him. Yeah. And he doesn't even need that. It's like, anyway, you can go. Yeah, no, it's dumb, but I still love it. Sorry.
Look, if you had a supercut of just the fights, I would probably enjoy it a lot more.
Yeah, true that. Yeah, the second one's even dumber, and the character is even less likable. So I quite like mecha combat when it's very sort of industrial, very... I don't like the sleek, floaty-abouty Gundam style. I don't think... Well, like, obviously mechs can fly, but I don't think... Yeah, space mechs, I'm more about sort of ground, like walking tanks is sort of my vibe. I quite like this is really just, I don't understand why they just didn't put wheels on it. It's actually, like, yes, it can go over slightly rougher terrain, but at the risk of falling over. I really don't understand.
I just thought my my main basis of mech fandom is actually Transformers.
Oh, fair. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's a little weird when humans get inside them.
Yeah, there's definitely some kind of sexual thing going on there.
Well, even worse is when they because I've seen it in the animated series where the kid is inside and then they transform. I'm like, and that kid just died. That kid, because all of the bits inside just moved around a lot. Like, he just got folded like 18 different ways. All of a sudden, Optimus Prime starts bleeding from his chest. Like, what happened? Oh, I had a family of 4 in me. They're not okay, are they? This is bad. I need a car wash. I'm not transforming back into the lorry until I get to a car wash.
Oh god,
it's gonna
that's
ruin
probably
the
how
upholstery.
they eat.
You chew, now just transform back and forth until you mince. Rally, yeah, Celestra, yeah. I loved it because there was an American playing an Aussie and an Aussie playing an American. I'm just like, no, you could have. Why did you cast the Aussie as his dad, who was definitely trying to be American, and the American, for some reason, was trying to be an Australian? And Idris Elba was chronically wasted. Yeah, well. So yeah, we're talking medium-sized mechs, like nothing.
Well,
Maybe
define
10
medium.
10 meters tall at most is sort of my thinking, not the Pacific Rim job, enormous, sort of 50, 100 meter. Not because the other place that mechs are huge in my fandoms is Warhammer. And there are so many different kinds of mechs in Warhammer, to the point of it. There are Titans who are, in some cases, literally hundreds of meters tall, down to Dreadnoughts, which are really just a dude in a coffin strapped to the front of a walking pair of legs and some cannons. Oh, it's a Dasher. Who are these cool lads doing something 100% not nerdy? Yeah, that's it. We're telling a mech story.
We're talking about mechanics. It's it's super cool. I love the diesel.
Yeah. I love when the Thronungulator and the Winnie Wax and the yes.
I like the hyperventilator.
Forget not the grot tanks. Yes, as well, of course. Yeah, the greenskin Titans and all of their mechs and dreadnoughts and killer cans. Yeah, that's those are very silly. And the Eldars look like Gundam, basically. There's loads of different options, but so we're thinking something quite industrial, something quite blocky and tank-like. To the tune of 5 to 10 meters.
Size-wise, like, is that like half a skyscraper?
I would say more like a 4-story building.
Cool. Okay.
But roughly humanoid.
Well, let's leave that to be because there's a lot of other defining factors for that. I feel like that's enough specifications that we will still be, because like even in a lot of those kinds of fictions, you have sometimes humanoid mechs fighting with like tiger mechs and stuff like that.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
That idea. So let's go to let's do a play-by-play, because so the opening, what's it all about? What is the war about? What are we even fighting about? There's 6 suggestions. A struggle for independence / upholding safety and stability, a necessary invasion versus a defense of your homeland, to reawaken past glory, to preserve the bounty of the present, to propel humanity into the future against preserving tradition, a very, very easy to relate to theme, that one. To build a place for the dispossessed / maintain the rule of law. The war has caused a rift in your faction. Now we fight among ourselves. And I think that one's the most interesting of the suggestions.
Number 6?
Yeah, I always find civil wars the most uncivil. And yeah, because it's, you can't ever hate somebody if you have not first liked them. In fact, the saying is you can't hate somebody if you haven't first loved them. You can't properly hate them. And I think that's very true. And yeah, there is nothing quite as brutal as a civil war. Been alert for a bit as I work while you're having a good time. Cool. Thanks very much for joining us, Daria. Daria, everybody loved your smoothie picture.
I haven't seen it. I need to take a look at that.
Huge. That one. Yeah. There's Smoothie. There he is. Pop him up there. Boop. There we go. There's Smoothie. Currently work in progress. It's not done though, but it's very cool. This is the second draft. No. I put it away now.
It's very cool. I like that soldier bat boy.
Now Superman, that bat, because he can fly.
Of course.
So what is your motive in the war? What is your motivation? An abhuman? No. So Batboy Smoothie is a Terran. This is for Humblewood, Celestra. So Humblewood is all animal folk, and Smoothie will be playing on Monday night. So you can come and join and see him then. That's for 5e D&D, is the Humblewood setting by the Hit Point Press, and I run a lot of my games in that setting. So yeah, what is your motivation for this war? What caused it? What are we disagreeing about?
Okay. Are we gonna say that we were on the same side of a war? Do we want
And then the
to
faction
define
split?
what that war was first?
Sure.
Or
I kind of like the idea of maybe an invasion, and we're the resistors of an invasion, but then disagreements occur about how sort of
yeah.
genocidal to be. Or,
Yeah. Great. That's easy. I love that.
Cool.
And we can define how genocidal we were during gameplay.
Yeah.
Yeah, fantastic.
What is your motivation? So these are things to write down. You write down your motive along with the answer to your question on your data file. So what is your motive in this war?
And just quickly, Josh, I sent you a link in Zoom to a Google Doc, which was created by one of the fans of
the form
this
fillable
system. Yes, a form fillable, so that we have. I assume we can both access this. Otherwise, we can both have a copy and copy each other's stuff on it. But yeah, something form fillable that's nice and easy, rather than having to write anything down.
Well, I can write on what I've got next to me.
Yeah, great. I will use this then.
So if you use that one, I'll use this because it's already set up.
Sick.
Alrighty. I say this. There we go. Alrighty. So, the name of my pilot. Because you presumably want to define that first.
Yes.
Who are they? What do they do? Yeah. Let's, Name. I don't know. Chat. Shout me out some good names. I want a mech pilot name.
Likewise for me too.
Delvin Steele. With an extra E. Steele.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. How else would you spell that? Yeah. Call sign. Now, going to reveal quite how much of a BattleTechy nerd I have. I have a Tonchel Joshinger. Cool.
Tell you what, I'll go with Tosh.
Tosh. Toshel
Yeah.
Joshinger. Alrighty. Tosh. My call sign is Harbinger.
Oh, okay. Mine would be Hugman. No.
Huggy Bear.
I have no idea for my mech, but for some reason this is just come to me, Steeljaw.
Cool. Love it.
Alright, your surname is Steel. Oh, Iron Jaw. There we go.
Yeah, we don't want to spoil it by having too much steel in it. It's a mech game, for goodness sake.
That's fucked.
Yeah. I think Delvin, just for the sake of argument, is male and probably in his mid-30s. No, I want him to be young. I want to say 24.
Okay. I will be older then. I will be 38. And also male, because that's easier.
Faction.
I guess that's just the name of
Yeah, just the name of the group.
what we do belong
Yeah.
to, right?
Yeah. But then there would be two separate factions of it.
Not necessarily. I mean, they could be, but they could just be like philosophical differences between the two of us. Can we go back to the motive for a sec? That might help us to define.
Yeah, all right. So what is the motive for the war? Why are we fighting? To resist a...
well, I think those motives are separate for each of us.
Oh, yeah, sure. Oh, the Courtiers or the Privateers. My emblem will of course be a Jolly Roger.
Yes.
So what would Delvin's Delvin is a patriot, I think, young, idealistic, joined up to help, joined up to fight, possibly fell in, joined up, was over eager.
Yeah, I can see where this is heading.
I'm okay with him not being the more, but the more vigorous side, the more genocidal side. But he could easily logically go that way, unless you had some thoughts about what you wanted for Tosh.
I think that, I mean, he's a slightly older guy. I am thinking, if not conscription, then just something like he's doing his duty. It's not something that he is relishing at this point. He just is doing what he has to do to protect the people that he loves.
Yeah, right, okay.
Is what I think his motivation is.
Sure. So, it's a combat. Functionally, they're both patriots to a degree, but it's macro as opposed to micro.
I mean, using those on page 16, that list of motives, I would say that yours could potentially be
glory,
zealotry or glory.
zealotry.
Yeah.
Or idealism. Whereas yours is constructed? Oh no, not that.
No. It's a cool that's a very cool thing that I wish I saw before though.
Compulsion almost.
Yeah, I think it is compulsion.
And I think, if he's... I almost think it would be more interesting if Tosh was on the side of the people who are going further, who's like, I'm prepared to do whatever I have to end this so that my family can be safe.
I'm sure that I'm looking forward to that kind of defining itself as we play. I think I could go either way on it as well.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see if there are mechanics here which kind of pull that out.
In which case, I will definitely say idealism.
Yeah.
I don't think he's a zealot. I don't think he's old enough to be a zealot.
Yeah. So, in that case, now we kind of diverted here from faction. The name that comes to my mind now for faction is Peacekeepers.
Ooh, yeah. I was going, like, the Workers United.
Oh, yes.
As in, like, a resistance. But... I don't mind Peacekeepers at all. Oh, yeah, actually, no, I really like that. That would be the I think that would be the trick. I think possibly the Workers United started and then the Peacekeepers split off from them because they didn't like their methods for whatever reason.
Okay. So, which side do you think Delvin is in?
That's a valid point. I think I want to say the Workers United.
Yeah. I think so too. And look, just because this faction is called the Peacekeepers
doesn't mean that's what they do.
Yeah, no.
This firefighters fight fire. What do freedom fighters fight? It's not freedom. Yeah, absolutely.
What was your call sign again?
Harbinger.
Yeah, that's a very friendly call sign.
I like to think he didn't come up with it. Somebody else gave it to him. And it was a joke at the time. Like, he's not a very threatening, or he wasn't a particularly threatening warrior at the time.
How old do you think he was when he joined? How long has this conflict been going on for?
Ooh, I reckon quite a while. I reckon he was like 16. I think he lied to get in.
Was it conscription or...
No, I think he wanted to. I think he lied. I think he lied about his age to join up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And are we on the other side of the conflict now? Are we in kind of like the cleanup phase?
Yeah, I almost feel like we collaboratively won and then fell to bickering amongst ourselves. Yeah, I think so. So
Okay.
or it could be that the final phase of the war is when our story begins.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so, because I don't believe there's anything in the rules defining when these three battle scenes take place, so there could be years between them.
Yeah.
So I do like the idea that our first scene starts when they're kind of in this cleanup phase of there's the remnants of these invaders on, let's call it Earth for simplicity's sake.
Yeah.
And they're a part of this team sent to detain or destroy the remnants of these invaders, I think is probably a good catalyst for us to start.
Yeah. And then something like... so are you seeing first scene as like the inception of the conflict of the split, or like the final, like the match that sparked the flame between the Peacekeepers and the Workers United?
Yeah, I am seeing this first scene as we start the scene as being allies, and by the end of the scene, we are not.
We're not. Yeah, that's cool.
Or
yeah.
at least we're not as close as we once were.
Yeah, yeah. There's a rift. Yeah, cool. Yeah. Now, when it says mech, that's presumably just the name of the mech.
Yeah, so towards the end, there is...
Oh, it's got some suggestions at the back, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
Where are we?
A lot of that stuff.
Call sign. It doesn't say. Production run is like one of a type, prototype, or limited run, mass produced, but it doesn't give me any. So I imagine it is just names.
So the mech would just be the name.
Yeah. Griffin Core, the Gamma Knight, the Blue Streak, Hot Rod. Reading those, I actually did think the Tarnished Knight, but no, it's too much of a mouthful. Devon Steele, the Harbinger. Now, what would it call his mech? Old Yeller.
Well, I've got a question for you. Did he name his mech? Was it made for him, or was it inherited? Did it already have a name?
I don't think it already had a name. I think he came in as like a starry-eyed new recruit. They were washing the blood out of the cockpit from the last guy. It's like it's a trope, but it's like I don't want to lean into the saying it's a bad luck mech, but this is the mechs are way more durable than the pilots situation. Yeah. At least in my head, and I think. I kind of like Old Yeller. He just started calling it because it was yellow. And it was a reference to an old TV show he'd never seen, but he'd heard the phrase. And he's always thought that giving a mech a name was silly.
Yeah.
But he just sort of refers to it, this beat up old tin can, as Old Yeller.
Okay.
How about Tosh?
I think he calls his mech the M260 because that's its serial number.
Yeah. He's not attached.
it's a tool to him. It's in some ways maybe a cage, but he doesn't have any sentimentality attached to it. He doesn't glorify this thing. It's a means to an end for him.
Oh. Celestra has just asked a good question. Celestra, if you join our Discord, I will verify you, and you can post it up there because I would love to see. Yeah, it's exciting. Come aboard, Mustard Mouth, Wheat Belt, and DJ Demo. You are all verified. Thank you for joining. There you are. You now ought to be able to utilize the whole thing. Whoa, there we go. Done. 7:56. Yep, cool. Marvelous. I'm excited to see. Slap it up in the hung, drawn, and quartered. Or creative art, or wherever you fancy. There's loads of places for it. Cool. Where was I? Right, yes. Old Yeller and the production run. I think this is a factory. This is a long run thing, Old Yeller.
Yeah. Yeah, this is definitely...
Factories.
Tosh's is mass produced as well.
I think there are loads of variants of Old Yeller, but this is one of the ones that just churned out for the war.
Do we have the same model of mech?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think that's necessary.
As in, like, they could be variants of each other.
Or completely different designs, yeah.
Yeah, I don't mind either way. What do you think? Do you have a preference?
I have a very clear image in my head of what it looks like.
Okay.
So I am fine with you coming up with your own. But if you like, I don't mind either way. So I think definitely different armaments for different mission profiles.
Yeah.
Definitely makes sense. I think possibly that mechs are by their nature modular.
Yeah.
And someone's like, okay, they're going on a hunt and destroy mission, so they might have to be given an upgraded sensor package or given running lights or whatever. I think possibly a variety in size is interesting. Hey, Omi, good to see you.
Hey, Omi.
Studly nerds.
In our Discord, in the creative art section, the Corsair mech has been posted.
That's sick. DJ Demo, thank you very much. That's very, very cool. Weapon systems detailing, hell yeah. Love it.
It's very cool.
That's dope. General gaming. I love gaming. Who doesn't? Then he'll fit right in, Wheat Belt. Cool. Alrighty. So that's all the things we need to sort of define at the outset, I think.
That looks like just about all of them.
What is your motivation? Show your credentials. Finally, basics for your pilots of factions, their mechs. Cool. Scene 1. You are a pair of pilots in a space war. History will say the course of the war was shaped by your duel. Probably, yeah. From what we've already discussed, yeah. But from where you're sitting today, that probably sounds ridiculous. Nope. Answer the background questions for your pilot and then set the scene together. Then follow the special instructions for Scene 1's auction. Yes, Celestra gave the mech a pirate hat. Hey, Ravensteel! How long have you been a pilot? 8 years. How long
has the war been going longer than that?
I would say 10, maybe 12.
Okay.
I almost feel like, and feel free to correct me on this, but Tosh fought a different war.
Yeah,
retired,
so
and then was reconscripted. It was like, we need backup. So he might not have been fighting this particular war as long as Delvin, but
yeah, look, I'm gonna say 20 years, just from like as long as he's been
Since his inception. Yeah,
since he started as a pilot.
Yeah, cool. Awesome. Have you two met on the battlefield before?
Yeah.
Yeah. Possibly not in the same sort of squad or lance or whatever you want to call them, but definitely served on the same field, possibly under the same sort of captain, company commander, but not necessarily in the same teams very often, but definitely are aware of each other, familiar with each other.
Yeah. Do you think there is any recognition or idolation from Delvin to Tosh as like a war hero, or no? I
think Delvin respects him from what he knows of him, but like, for all that he's been at this a while, he is still quite, I think, still idealistic, and I think Tosh's cynicism probably rubs him up the wrong way. If they ever got into it, they would discover they had very little in common. Like, Delvin doesn't have... He's got family, but he doesn't have, like, children or loved ones, particularly. His parents and maybe a sibling or two. But it's not a lot of time for relationships when you're a big, bad mech warrior. Is there any natural phenomena in this RP? To a degree, I think there's room for it. Basically, Celestra, I guess we'll find out, because as we bid, new elements come in. So almost everything is natural phenomena.
Yeah, it's really defined by the players of the game. Based on what we have already discussed, I feel like there's aliens.
Who have mechs of their own.
Potentially.
Or are just really big.
No, let's say they have mechs of their own.
Yeah.
Because that would be a bit goofy otherwise if they're just very big aliens.
I've always loved the idea of an alien invasion where humanity wasn't totally outclassed. We're always like, oh, we're the underdogs, because you have to be in the film, otherwise it's not very interesting. But I really love the idea of the aliens, this massive warrior race, come in and invade, and they're actually only 2 feet tall. And humanity is just... Not even like... They would still be obviously massively technologically superior to us, but they're invading because humanity was like, well, those monkeys there are amazing physical labor. Let's grab them for that. And then it goes horribly, horribly wrong when they realize the monkeys know how to use stones.
Yeah.
The usual elven invasion with the tree mechs. Selesnya. I don't know if you know your... I know very little of Ravnica as a setting, but there is, in the War of the Spark, there is exactly tree mechs.
That's cool.
Selesnya's clan master or guild master is a giant tree, and you can pilot it as a giant mech tree.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
I never got behind Ents, but I could get behind
Mecha Ents. Yeah.
In fact, that's how I like to flavor artificers. Sometimes I was playing a high elf artificer, and I was describing all of the technology as being kind of wood based.
Yeah. Omi, I am referring to V2 Ganzi, yes. I don't know the setting particularly well, but I teched a 6-ep series on Roll for Damage. Matt Brown from Split the Party ran it and knows that setting backwards. And did a really, really cool job of it. And I think episode 4 was called Neon Selesnya's Tree Vangelion. And I was like, that's is an excellent name. And there was a giant mecha crab that Rach was piloting. Wow. It was awesome. It was really cool. Fighting a giant dragon. Like an enormous, demon dragon thing. V2 Gazi, very cool. Anyway, yes. So, set the scene. Scene 1 establishes the first significant encounter between your two pilots. Feel free to use one of the suggestions to set the scene for your first encounter. So yeah, we are sort of rounding up a sort of broken army, or a small portion of it.
Yeah. Where do you want to say that there are other mech pilots with us, or that?
Oh yeah, I'd say so.
Just sent as a pair.
I kind of like that.
Yeah, me too. That way we don't have to like sub in NPC
in scene 1
and stuff.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So they were basically on a hunt, I think, or like there has been activity reported. We should probably name this alien race at some point, but there's been activity reported in this general area. Seek them out, and then question mark.
Yeah, cool. Can we get an alien race name in chat? A race of aliens who use mechs. But the humans managed to resist. Cool. So that's that one. Scene auction. Each player may raise a maximum of 2 times, which means there'll be 3 bids. The Zygons? Sure. The Zygons. Or the Bosariums.
Bosariums.
I like the Bosariums. Because the Zygon is a thing, I think.
Yeah, that's a Doctor Who alien, I think.
I think it's a Zargon. But yeah, very close to, yeah. But Bosariums. I like that. And that's cool. Thank you very much, Celestra.
Potential for us to shorten and put into derivative names and stuff, derogatory names.
Bosies. Yeah. I feel like it also has a little bit of a feel of a Latin designation because we don't speak their language. So we don't know what their name for themselves is, or we can't pronounce it.
Yeah. Oh, look, that's a cool thing to define. So we have no way of communicating with this race through language.
Or possibly very, very limited. I've always loved the idea of alien races that communicate non-verbally. And there's one of my favorite authors, Ian Douglas, who also writes BattleTech books, actually, but in several of his books, he plays around a lot with that. There's a race that communicates exclusively through mathematics, and they call themselves a mathematical, a very complicated mathematical term that was worked out by a human called something Euler. So the humans call them Eulers because that's really all we have for them. Like pulse technology, like seismic technology, there was another race of sort of crystalline folk who communicate with naturally occurring radio waves. So they're all natural and radio antennas, which would be a massive thing, but you could also hack that.
Yeah. It reminds me, since we're talking of alien races and their ways of communication, it reminds me of the I can't remember what they're called, but from Mass Effect, the big grey lumbering things which start all of their sentences with resigned sigh or resigned statement, their emotional state.
Yeah. I love those.
Condescendingly, sure, I believe you.
Yes. Deeply sarcastically, great idea.
Yes, because they can't emote in there.
They can't intonate? Yeah. Yeah, that's very cool. The radio wave thing kind of sounds like FM Ian's from Mega Man Star Force.
Wow, Omi, that's a deep cut. It's been a long time since I've heard the phrase FMians from Mega Man Star Force. Good game, but yeah.
I know nothing of this. That's Crystalline Xeno. Their mechs are like statues, making them dangerous when they break. Ooh.
That's cool.
That's very cool.
And gives a reason why they like potentially they're a lot more fragile under Earth's atmosphere. So
durable, but
because I don't like the idea of the alien mechs kind of still existing, so that kind of gives a good reason for why they just kind of disintegrated or very rare.
Yeah, once you beat them, they're broke.
Yeah.
Battle Network was so much better. Star Force just tried to keep milking the ends. Okay. Alrighty, cool. So we are ambushing or like hunting a band, a suspected band of these. I keep thinking Selesnians. Bozarians. Of the Bozarians. And we've been unusually, because it's the end of the war, there's fewer soldiers, there's fewer active functional mechs. We've both managed to keep ours working. We've been paired up unusually. Normally we would be deployed in larger formations, but in this instance they were like, you two will be enough for it, and you two have got the only 2 functioning mechs in the company right now. Off you go. Can melt down quite literally. Ooh. Somatic technology reacting to toxins and chemical reactions. Ooh. Alrighty, cool. So we make a bid.
Right, okay. And no bids to destroy.
No bids to destroy. And initially what we're doing is just saying, I bid to define this thing, and the sort of the metric we use to determine which one is the better bid is how much it stands to gain the scene, how much it stands to benefit the story. I'm trying to find the exact
it is on page
wording.
11.
There you go.
Yeah.
Play the scene. Each bid must be used. Each bid must be present, and it must be present exactly as it was defined. First of all, if there is a tie, the call. When the bids are final, it is time to call it and see who wins. First, both players announce their final bid. This means saying out loud everything they bet in total and what it defines and or destroys. Then, both players decide which bid is the most meaningful. That's the word. What it makes a bid meaningful is highly subjective based on the scene. Who is involved? What is at stake? Generally, a bid is more meaningful the more it relates to the current conflict, to each player's stakes in the scene, and to what sets your pilots apart, both from each other and from their peers. Cool. Alrighty. So you bid to define.
Alright, let me take a look at this.
Ooh.
There are also at the back of the rule sheet is other examples of those things to define as well. But it sounds like you've got something.
Squad mates.
Okay.
I am going to define my squad as I'm the last of them. The rest of them were taken out or badly injured in the last sort of clash, and that's why I've been paired with you. So yeah, my the fact that I am the last of my team is what makes a group that have been together, tight-knit crew who have fought together for a while. He is the last. The last one standing. The last one shooting. A tee.
All right, let me.
There you go. I bid that, knowing not at all how this works.
I'm still struggling to define my mech's appearance, but I don't need to do that right now. What else have I got?
I'm going to find a picture of what I imagine mine to look like because it's based on a thing.
Great. That'll probably help me as well.
Okay, cool. There are so many memes about this thing. I like that picture. Strana Mekti. Save image. Yeah, you'll do. You didn't save it where I think you did you?
While you're trying to find that, I'm gonna bid one of my signature weapons, which is a shield.
Ooh.
Yeah, I think it's not like a fancy kind of laser shield. It's just maybe it expands, but it is a big fuck off expanding metal shield.
That's cool. I like that.
Yeah.
I can save this one as a... Didn't like the file type. There we go. You'll do. Save. Where'd you go? Where did you go? That's deeply unhelpful. Why did you do that? You can... I loathe computers. Don't you loathe computers?
Yeah, it do be like that. Look, don't worry about that for now.
Yeah, alright. You bid a shield, which I think is dope. Cool.
Would you like to raise?
I will definitely raise. I will definitely raise. Meaningful. Now, in this scene, we're not looking to destroy them unless we're already defining them as destroyed.
Yes.
Or as not present anymore.
So what's worth clarifying for people watching is everything that gets defined right now has to play a part in this scene.
Yeah.
And the things that are defined on the winner's side are at least one of them is kind of decisive in why the victory happens.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, none of these things get destroyed in this scene. We cannot bid to destroy anything in this scene.
There is the picture of my mech. That's all yellow.
Cool.
It is an urban mech.
Okay, that's very cool.
It's got that has a laser and an autocannon on it. Mine doesn't necessarily have that weapons loadout, but yeah.
I know what mine looks like now.
Good. There you go.
And it's not that.
Awesome. I don't know. Okay. Yeah. I am going to raise a unique appearance. Or, sorry, a unique customization. I was meaning for the mech, not for me.
Yeah.
And...
Well, unique appearance is under the mech, and
yeah,
there's also distinct look, which is separate. And that's
unique appearance, unique customization. I've got a unique appearance then. Yeah. Yeah. I think. Yeah, this mech has I think possibly he got into the core first as a technician. But he likes tinkering, and he's always playing around with Old Yeller, to the point where now it's got, it has fins on its back to assist with maneuverability, and also they could basically house radio antennas that. Like far better, like having just a radio antenna can be broken really easy. These fins are quite heavily armored, so it protects his communication systems, which is the utility of it. But yeah, I think it would probably be more of a unique customization than a unique appearance thing.
Sure.
Would be the fins on the back.
Okay, armored fins. Great. Something else that occurs to me that's probably worth defining is, as written, there isn't necessarily a lot of in-character role-playing involved in this. I mean, I'm sure we will find opportunities to say lines here and there, but it is a lot of, well, almost all the world building and kind of defining of people's alignment and values are done entirely in this kind of phase.
Yeah.
Which I think is really interesting.
Yeah.
The scenes are, as far as I can see, almost all action.
Yeah. Yeah. It's 3 battles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna raise my mech's unique appearance. This probably comes from one of the first lines of mechs, which I'm going to say were either repurposed or inspired by construction machines. So this is going to be a bulldozer.
Heck yeah.
Like a vertical bulldozer, where one of the arms is the long extending train arm. Yeah.
Awesome.
And
would the shield be the dozer blade?
The gozer. Oh yes, yeah. We were talking about these things being modular. So whatever is attached to that arm is probably modular, and in this case, that's the shield.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. I like that. Like that a lot. I will also define a signature maneuver.
Okay.
I'm gonna call it. Oh, okay. Aims for the legs.
Yeah.
An enemy that can't run is an enemy that can't fight.
Yeah.
A Bazarian. A down Bazarian is a dead Bazarian.
Shit. Okay.
But I'm not. That's not my catchphrase.
Okay. Well, you may choose to define it as such later on.
I might, but not now. Showstopper. Yeah. The ultimate get the fuck off mechanic. Ooh. Oh, well, that's me.
Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna raise my sensors or tactical suite. My mech is equipped with a system that is very good at locating squishies. Probably.
Oh,
purpose.
is that what we call them? Because they're squishy inside their mechs.
Well, could be. I mean, I was using that as humans and aliens.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the term for pilots is squishies.
Yeah.
And non-combatants is squishies.
Yeah.
So
Anybody
that's-
not in a mech.
Yeah, anyone not in a mech is a squishy.
Yeah.
Which I feel is fair.
Valid, yeah.
Yeah. So, but it can detect people through mechs and through cover to an extent.
I don't believe, Celestra, the point is that you die. You lose, but you don't necessarily die.
In the final scene, someone might die, but we have 3 battles, which will be difficult, but not impossible for us to fight if one of us dies.
Yeah. Cool. Alrighty, so I have wagered a tight-knit crew who fought together for a while, have fought together for quite a long while, and he is the last one who is still moving, either through mech loss or through injury. He has a signature maneuver aiming for the legs. The intention being to take them sometime, like, I think at the end, towards the end of the war, High Command is like, we want prisoners. And the armored fins on the back of his mech for guidance and comms.
Yeah. And Tosh is bidding sensors that are good at detecting squishies. His signature weapon is an expanding metal shield, and the unique appearance of the mech is a repurposed bulldozer. So now we need to figure out, based on those bids, who is going to win this scene. So, I mean, we can have a little bit of discussion amongst ourselves, but I would love to hear what chat thinks as well.
Well, absolutely. And Celestra, and I think that is the point, and I was definitely conscious of that. Funny thing is, when you both divulge traits that could help the other, absolutely. And this is the trick, because you are not... Your characters are confrontational, you shouldn't be. I think Brendan has described a cooler thing. But in terms of sort of meaningful... is the metric we are judging it on, and how this scene could incorporate these 6 elements. I think in this instance it would have to be like, what would be the coolest for the scene, and I just think the dozer blade on the as the shield of this industrial mech is so cool. I think you have it.
Yeah, I think I do as well. Yeah, but what I like about this is I already have a lot of ideas for other things to define in future scenes, and I'm sure you do as well.
I think I actually don't, but I think this scene will impact that.
Yeah, 100%. Okay, so are we decided? Is
I think so.
Of this one?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay, great. So now we're launching into the scene. Is there anything else that we need to know before we get started in this? Is there any other guidance in this scene?
Let's have a look. Call it.
No, that's it.
Yeah. Play the scene. Player who plays the winning bid gets to decide how the scene plays out, how it ends, and who walks away with the prize. You get to decide what happened to who, including where and why and how they did it. They have near total power over the course of the scene. It's a big responsibility, but you're not all powerful either. You have some limitations on what goes down, and those limitations are bids. When you win the auction, it's your job to work each of those bids into the scene. However, Brendan and I disagree a little bit on this point, and we think
Yes.
the other player should get some say into it. And I think that would actually help reduce the angst of I won that one. If the other person does get a say, like I think you get the final say, but the other person definitely contributes to it.
Yeah. Yeah, look, let's try this first scene as me kind of guiding the scene, and I'll ask you a bunch for your input.
Yeah.
And make suggestions and stuff. And so, for me, the purpose of this is for us to make a cool scene.
Yeah.
Something that looks cool, that evokes cool imagery. Yeah. We're not two opposing players, we are two collaborative storytellers right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, let's say we're in a slightly forested area. Maybe it's somewhere that was kind of ravaged during the war and is now starting to kind of grow back. The two of us have been assigned to sweep this area. We've been at it for, let's say, 10 hours at this point in our mechs.
Wow. Yeah.
So
they're getting hot, sweaty, grumpy.
Yeah, absolutely. We know each other a bit and have open communications with each other, being a part of the same team. So we can communicate with each other, and we see a group of Bozarians in the distance in a clearing in the forest. Tosh points them out. They are hiding under a dense clump of trees, but my senses allow me to see them and to identify them.
Yep.
And I call out their position, and I start to disembark my mech to approach them.
Ooh.
When I think Delvin does something hostile to them.
I think Delvin perceives their actions as differently. I think Tosh thinks they're surrendering, and Delvin sees someone running for a mech. And Delvin was supposed to cover Tosh, and I would also think that Delvin was opposed to Tosh getting out of the mech.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%.
But then Delvin reacts, as far as he's concerned, to save Tosh's life.
Yeah. What does he do?
I think he's tired. He's he's salty. He's just lost a bunch of friends, and he's about to lose somebody he doesn't necessarily love, but he respects. And he's like, not another. And maybe his aim isn't quite as good as he wanted it to be. He was aiming for a warning shot, but he, I would say, takes out the legs of one of them accidentally. And not a mech. He actually takes out the legs of a Bozarian. And putting the irony to his signature move.
Yeah. Okay. So I think Tosh sees that. And he by the time he's able to react and get back into his mech to operate it, he's too late to prevent any damage. Do you think, are there any of Bozarians left? Did you kill one or all of them? Or
I don't.
Injured, or?
I think possibly this sparked combat. I think this sparked a they were surrendering, but one wasn't.
Yeah.
One maybe or didn't look like they were. One looked like, nah, I'm not. We're going to make a stand here. And Delvin moved to in all good faith to protect. But yeah, when he does that, they're all like, oh, these guys aren't going to take surrender. We got to fight. We've all got to fight. So I think a lot of them do clamber back into or pick up weapons. And Delvin almost has to shield Tosh using his mech. Hey, Mr. and Mrs. Crafting. Good to see you.
Hello. Can I make a bit of an alteration to that, because
Please do.
I want this to focus on the conflict between the two of us and not between the third party mech.
Sure.
Your aim for the legs technique severs the legs of an alien and also the mech.
So, sure. Yeah.
Yeah, and perhaps the mech, it causes it to fall over and shatter into these crystal pieces. And we don't know what is happening to the Bazarians at this stage, but I just kind of want to take that out of the equation so we can focus on this conflict between the two of us.
Yeah, in which case, let's say that they flee.
Yeah. Well,
because we're too busy
I think the point is
arguing.
we don't know. Like,
All right,
we're not focusing on them right now.
Sure.
But in response, Tosh is going to extend the dozer arm and then expand the shield, effectively pulling Delvin's mech back.
Yeah. Separating him. I'm imagining Tosh's machine is bigger than Delvin's.
Okay.
I have like comfortably half again the height. Nowhere near as maneuverable, but half again as big.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't imagine the M260 being particularly maneuverable apart from this arm. I feel like the arm is hyper maneuverable.
I think he gets really good utility out of it. He's extremely experienced. He's probably one of the last people who uses this thing.
Yeah. He, as a kid, he grew up in the arcade. He has a lot of experience with claw games. But yeah, that's effectively what he does. He pulls Delvin's mech back, and the mech maybe falls backwards or something. And there's a bit of there's a confrontation there. Tosh tells Delvin that we're not here, that we're here to end hostilities, not to extend them.
And he would angrily retort, maybe you couldn't see it from the ground, old man, but that guy was going, that squishy was going for his mech. You're welcome. Hey, Castellan. Good to see you, buddy. Grandfather Nurgle loves me a little too much today. Thanks very much.
This is going to be unexpected for Tosh. Tosh isn't going to respond to that verbally. He's going to just retract the shield arm, and then rapidly extend it and basically do a shield punch. Let's say Delvin's mech is on the floor, and he pounds him into the ground.
I would say that this would probably actually get him stuck on his fins. They are now sort of stuck in the ground. Yeah.
Yep.
Wild Texan appears. Hey, true almighty Texan, good to see you. Ahoy, matey. How are you?
Hello. Spray some cinch on that. Good.
I don't want that. Not at all.
I think, Tosh is going to walk to stand over the mech and say, stand down and stay down.
Ooh.
And one more slam into the ground.
He's standing near. I'd really like to kick a leg, aiming for one of his.
Yep. Okay. A leg kicks out, destabilizing Tosh's mech, and because the shield is out, it comes down on the leg.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Yes.
It doesn't necessarily sever it, or not irreparably, but damages it, and ends in like a kneeling pose with this shield on the leg.
The damage remains. I'll be limping back.
Yeah, and it's enough for Tosh to feel like he's not going to be particularly mobile, and he moves back over to these Bazarians and disembarks and tries to figure out what the fuck is going on with them and tries to resolve the situation.
Ooh.
And I think
without cover?
Yep.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
I imagine it takes Delvin like 5 minutes to get his custom job off the ground, particularly with a busted leg. So he's almost like, by the time he manages to get up, Tosh has sort of sorted it.
Yeah.
Does Tosh get their surrender?
Yeah, I think so. Yes, but after having to put one or two down.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, the ones who are very defensive about this hostility prove that they, are not willing to accept, to reoffer surrender. So Tosh ends up putting them down one way or the other, and then the rest surrender.
Yeah.
The non-combatants.
Cool. Right.
Yeah.
So I
think that's where we leave that scene.
They brought non-combatants with them. It's not just an army.
Well, I don't know if we know.
Right.
All we know is that there are beings of this species who aren't fighting.
Sure.
So they could be injured, they could be just non-combatants.
Yeah.
But I like the idea, if this communication is very limited, that I think there's a lot of things that they have done that we wouldn't know the motivations behind.
Yeah, cool. Love it.
Right.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Cool. So that's that scene.
That's a scene.
So each scene has a little reward type thing, or consequences.
Yeah.
So let's see. I'm trying to find what it is.
Page 11 or 12. Claim your reward. Once every bid has been accounted for, the winner gets one last bonus before ending the scene. They get to cause harm or seize resources, depending on what they want most right here, right now. These are the only way to enter something into a data file of your own creation, not already printed there for you. Causing harm lets you to place a destroyed bid into your opponent's data file, and seizing resources lets you place a defined bid into either player's data file. So you can seize resources for me, or you can seize them for yourself, or you can destroy something of mine. And I'm not sure, lets you place a destroyed bid. Can you destroy something I've already got, or you destroy something new?
It can be either.
Yeah.
You can, and I don't choose. All I choose is whether I cause harm, or seize a resource for you, and then you define what
I define what it is. Yeah.
Yeah. I think I'm tempted to seize, but I think that given the circumstances of that scene, how it played out, I'm going to
cause harm
to the leg.
Well,
that's up to you to define. So that's what makes sense to me, but that's up to you. But it does need to be one of those empty options on the character sheet.
Yeah, right.
So not necessarily empty. It can be, like, for instance, we talked about the fins. So it could be the fins, something that's already been defined, or it could be something that you want to define right now and then immediately destroy. But it needs to be something that fills one of those.
So it would be if for example, I said a unique appearance, and then I immediately destroyed it, his appearance would no longer be unique at all.
I mean, not necessarily. I think it's probably just like any. I think the important thing about it is once something has been destroyed, it can't be utilized.
Yeah.
So it doesn't necessarily mean that his appearance wouldn't be unique at all. It just means that it can't
be played.
Part. Yes.
Yeah. Alrighty. In which case, I would say you destroy the unique appearance. I'm going to. So
define the unique appearance first.
I almost think it's almost like... No, because this is almost like not doing that. It's... The way I imagine it is almost you've given him a unique appearance by... He now has to find a new leg for his mech. But that destroys that thing. Therefore, I can't bid a unique appearance any further.
Yeah.
But that feels like cheating.
I think it's probably fine, like, particularly because we're defining it as destroyed. Like, it still is destroyed, but the fact that it's destroyed can be the unique appearance, if you like.
Or, I think possibly from now on, his mech limps.
Okay, great.
That's,
so then,
that's the destroyed element.
Do you want to make it the mobility system then? Like,
let's do that.
Define the mobility system as
compromised
leg-based movement or something.
Yeah, leg-based.
You destroy that.
Is compromised. And then brackets destroyed. Can no longer be bid.
Yeah.
Cool. Awesome.
Cool.
Alrighty. So, now we go to the second scene. And that'll probably be around page 20. Scene 2. It is page 20. There you go. Some time has passed, but for some reason the battle sticks out in your mind above all others. Maybe you will meet again. Answer the background questions for your pilot and then set the scene together. Then follow the special instructions for Scene 2 auction. So, background questions. How would your life be worse if your faction won the war? How would your life be worse if your faction won the war?
I'm not sure.
Hey, Tony Karlstrom.
Question is super applicable given our background that we chose that we're on the same side.
I see what you mean. I still think it could be, though. Like, I wouldn't get to pilot a mech anymore because there's no need for it. That sort of thing. What would you miss about being at war? How would that negatively impact on your life? It's not quite the same, but
let's redefine things slightly, because I feel like, I mean, we might define this period of time later, but I think off screen between these two scenes, this divide of factions that we spoke about earlier has happened.
Yeah.
The Peacekeepers versus the what was it? The People's the Workers United.
The Workers United, and our sort of disagreement was a little bit emblematic of.
Yes.
I would almost say the Peacekeepers, because. Yeah, what's fun about it is that Delvin doesn't disagree with Tosh, just had a different viewpoint on it.
Yeah.
But has come out of it soured.
Yes. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, what I liked about that scene is Tosh wasn't necessarily, well, I think wasn't in the right with his response to Delvin. He was definitely the aggressor in that conflict between the two of them. So yeah, that probably has some bearing on Delvin. But I think that there's a general view on the side of the peacekeepers that the Workers United or the others are bloodthirsty. And our view is that, for better or for worse, these other people are here now, and and they are largely non-hostile.
Almost a Gaza Strait situation.
Yeah, let's try to repair things and to fix things, and this confrontation that we had in the first scene was part of what defined that struggle, and that Tosh was kind of regarded as a bit of a hero in making that stand, which he probably has certain feelings about. So that's how I would like to kind of redefine this conflict going forward. Does that suit you? Is there anything that you would want to add to that?
I don't think I think the Workers United definitely are no, they can fuck off. They are definitely that faction, but don't bear the. They don't. Bloodthirsty isn't what they would. Obviously, no one defines themselves as bloodthirsty.
Yeah.
But I don't think that would actually be fair to say of them as a neutral party. They accept surrender just fine. But those people who surrender are put on ships and told to bloody hell leave. The main doctrinal difference is, well, why can't they go? They got here, they must be able to leave. Unless they're coming... We don't know why they're coming to Earth, even after all this time. The Peacekeepers probably presume that they don't want to, or for whatever reason can't leave, or are deeply unwilling to because there isn't much for them to go home to. Possibly they destroyed their own homeworld, but that's not been communicated. So these are refugees almost, but the Peacekeepers are like, yeah, well, no, like, let them stay. They're laying down arms at this point, or they've laid down arms at this point, and now the Peacekeepers are defending the aliens, and have taken up an oppositional stance towards the other one, who are like, we're good with humans, you guys are cool, but no, they need to leave. This is our planet, and they fucked it up.
Yeah. Look, I think in terms of that label of bloodthirsty is from the Peacekeepers'
Oh, absolutely.
And potentially from the Workers United, the opposition could be, well, they're siding with these bozers over us.
Yeah.
Their own people. Which, I'd like that kind of...
Bozo lovers.
Yeah. So let's get back to those questions then. So...
More detail than me, racial complications or even equipment differences. Does your pilot respect the other player's pilot? And how would life be worse if your faction won the war? And I think that's the trick, is won the war. If you lost the war, you can easily envisage why it would be worse. But how would it be worse if you won the war? Which is why I think it still applies.
Yes. Now that we've defined what the war is.
Yeah.
Yes.
And in which case, how would life, and it's not your life, it's how would life generally be worse? Yeah. I think there are elements of the Workers United who are quite bloodthirsty, who are quite militant. I don't think they're the dominant faction, but I think they have power. They have certainly a degree of power that could make things. It's a little bit not fascist quite, but there is sort of the nasty kind of socialism comes out in the Workers United.
Yeah, I think from our perspective, one easy way that life would be worse if we won would be that it would probably require the deaths or harm of our kin,
Yeah.
of fellow humans and of people that we have fought beside.
And this isn't necessarily asked, but how does Tosh feel about that?
Well, that's what I think Tosh's opinion is.
Right. Cool.
As a generic kind of stand-in.
Sure. Yeah. In which case, then let us be more specific and say that Delvin's opinion is he is mildly concerned about winning for that reason. He doesn't think... He certainly hopes that he will be able to use his position, use his standing to ameliorate the worst damage his side winning could be, but he still fundamentally believes in what they are doing. That Earth should be for humans and that the bozos can leave. But he may not necessarily like the things that have been done to achieve that goal, and he is not part of them. He doesn't think, to this day, he doesn't think what he did was wrong or that he was in the wrong at all.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think it really nags at him because somebody who I think he still respects Tosh, there is deep dislike, bordering on hatred for the way he acted and the way he dealt with the situation. He thinks that he's a bit of a hypocrite. He's like, oh, I'm sorry, I saved your life and you broke my leg. Yes, we mustn't hurt people now. Guy who killed 2 more people to defuse the situation.
Yeah.
But, yeah, definitely does... I think he still respects him. Like, there is... Yeah, respect is not necessarily anything to do with liking the guy.
Yeah.
Ardana is rating with a party of 7. Ardana, thank you very much. Ardana,
hello.
welcome. We are playing Last Shooting. And Brendan, 27 people are watching us play Last Shooting, which is kind of nuts. It's really cool. We are playing a very, very, very story-heavy game. It is more of a discussion about 2 guys deciding on the history of a world and a lore, and it's really cool. It's sort of like co-authors' first meeting of a book they're gonna write. I'm really enjoying it. The premise of the game is very much to decide and define events from these guys' lives, and how they came to be mech pilots, and how they came to be fighting each other, and how they become. And then you do the mech storyboarding is a very good way of putting it, Celestra. Yeah, guys, if you are a fan of good D&D or Minecraft, you might want to go and check out Ardana. Shout out at. I will be playing on Ardana's channel tomorrow. Boop. So you can come and hang out there for that. That'd be super dope if you did. Ardana was just playing Minecraft, but yes, tomorrow night we will be playing a little bit of D&D with a character that you guys may know, because I will be playing Susan Del Cray, aka Susan the Seer from the Humblewood setting. Yeah, boy! But I will be playing a young, sexy version of her, for reasons that will become apparent when you come and watch the show tomorrow night. So yeah, thank you very much for the raid, raiders. Smash that follow button. We, of course, as Cove, we do D&D stuff and other TTRPGs, like this. This was originally, we originally wanted to take a swing at it because I want to run a game in the Battletech universe, but I don't think this is the system to do that with. But it's a super fun game, and I definitely think it's right for a one-shot Wednesday, and yeah, because it's each thing is very unique and very cool, and I really, really like it. Please do grab some food and lurk away. Thanks for joining us. So, yeah, Brendan, does Tosh respect Delvin?
No.
Yeah, didn't think so. Yeah, this broke him to him.
Yeah, I mean, it's also hard to say without defining all of their previous encounters, but I don't think that Tosh has seen anything impressive yet. That may well change during these conflicts, but I think at this stage.
So did Tosh
the
respect
answer
him
is no.
before?
I think he was unproven. I think
Right.
the first scene was, in Tosh's eyes, Delvin showing what he was.
Right. Cool.
Which
Despite being
I
an
think-
8-year veteran.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
That Tosh didn't know. And still a kid as far as Tosh is concerned. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm not disagreeing. I think it was like, that's just interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. I think, from Tosh's perspective, that's what that is.
Yeah. Shoots first, ask questions later is his opinion. What has life in the war shown you that you would never have seen without it? I think I can answer quite easily for Delvin, but I'm often going first. Do you want to take a swing first?
Yeah, my answer's probably a bit less defined, but there has been some communication established with the Bozerians, and the beginning of a sharing of cultures, which would not have happened if they didn't try to respond peacefully. So
Okay.
that's what I'll say.
Interesting. My response is significantly less less prosaic. I think Delvin didn't realize Delvin had never fought a war against humans. And Delvin didn't know quite how cruel man can be to man.
Yeah.
And like I said earlier, nothing is less civil than a civil war. And I think that is as the war grinds on, as it's becoming a bit of a meat grinder, as the original, as far as a lot of people are concerned, the original reason for fighting it is sort of lost. Because what's the point of this if everybody if humans are all dying one way or the other because we're all killing each other? What's the point of fighting this war? And I think the futility, and it's grinding him down. I think he is changing a lot because of it. I think he's becoming very jaded. Yeah.
What I'm realizing now about this game, shocker for a game about the two players being in conflict with each other, it's not a particularly uplifting game.
No, not particularly. I think it could be if you pick a particular kind of, like, you even pick a genre at the beginning. I think there are house rules that you could definitely add to change the vibe, change the feel radically. I get the distinct impression this doesn't. Not every scene has to happen in a mech. And particularly with like squad mates and that sort of thing, I think it could be small squad combat just as well. I think you only need to remove a few things and change things out for other things, and this could easily work as not mechs. And could be used in almost any situation. You could definitely use it in spaceships or pirate ships. You know, you could do that too.
Absolutely.
I wager me booty. Yeah.
And I imagine that the system that it's based off is probably that.
Yeah. Absolutely. Scene. We need to set the scene. Scene 2 is a reunion, a first encounter with the other pilot since that fateful first encounter. Feel free to come up with suggestions to set the scene for the second encounter, but here are these, but you can have others. Giving your characters PTSD is pretty cool, I guess. I don't think he is that bad. I don't think he is PTSD. I don't think he is broken by what he has seen. Only that he is dispirited by it. Only that he is disillusioned by it. I don't want to go into sort of the realms of mental trauma for this. What would the scene be? Some options being assault on a significant base, the first firing of a new super weapon, a meeting between the fleets that are prepared for the day. I have an idea. A peace accord.
Okay.
Where
yeah,
the nastier element of my faction pulls some shit.
Okay. Great.
Like, the Workers United have finally come to the table.
Yeah.
And elements within it have gone, yeah, no, we're going to sabotage this. The war's going to go on until we get our way.
Great. I love that.
Yeah. I think that.
Okay.
Cool.
Yeah, I like that. And we can define that clearer when we've figured out who's winning and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, cool. Alrighty, so for our raiders, now comes the gameplay bit. Gameplay in massive inverted commas. So, in the gameplay element of this, we basically take it in turns to either define or destroy elements of our character sheet. By defining it, you say, I have this piece of utility equipment that would be extremely useful in this situation. That is where you define it. And if you destroy something, you can bid the destruction of something you have already defined as an element of the scene. And then the person who makes the most meaningful bids wins the round. And gets to ultimately decide how the scene plays out. And the two of us did very well collaboratively narrate the first scene. But yeah, it's Brendan's show because Brendan won the round. So Brendan goes first, I believe.
I can.
Player who won scene 1 auction may raise a maximum of 2 times. A player who lost may raise a maximum of 3 times. Nobody may place more than 1 bid to destroy.
Why don't you go first? Because you've got 3 bids.
Yeah. Cool. Alrighty. That does make more sense. First one, I had an idea coming out of that battle. I reckon Delvin's faction acknowledged watched the after action reports, watched the camera footage, the cockpit camera footage, completely agreed with his decision. And promoted him.
Right.
So I bid Devlin's rank. And this is the first action that got him on the rungs of command. And so I would say Delvin is a captain.
Okay.
Which is a company command position.
Can we put in brackets next to that promoted?
Yeah.
Because I feel like that's the key part.
Yeah. Yeah, this thing that Tosh didn't approve of at all and actually beat me up for, I got promoted for. Yeah, that's how much my bosses, our superior officers at the time, disagreed with you on that point. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Okay. I'm going to bid my second signature weapon, which is going to be, so in chat we had the idea that the Bozarians had these crystalline mechs, and presumably a lot of their technology is crystalline. So my second unique weapon is going to be a crystalline mace.
Cool. Very, very cool. My second bid, my raise is My raise is an alternate mode.
Great. I love Transformers, so I love alternate modes. Tell me about it.
This is a flight pack.
Does it change the shape of the mech, or is it just a jetpack?
Yeah, the armored fins fan out into wings.
Amazing.
Yeah, and it basically he developed it to compensate for his compromised legs. So he can stand and he can limp around, but if he needs to move rapidly, he can reposition.
Great. So what is that coming under? Is that utility equipment?
Flight alternate mode, flight mode, angel mode. He probably calls it.
Oh yes, I see that there.
Angle mode, angel mode.
I could be your angel or your devil.
Yeah, angel mode is
I like that.
Tosh is trying to be Reinhardt.
Yeah, that's pretty close.
Reinhardt?
From Overwatch.
Okay.
Big German man with a shield.
I had a different Reinhardt in my head. Yeah. Reinhardt is in Blade 2. He is played by Ron Perlman, and has something of a disagreement with Blade. Do it, Reinhardt! And he was about to shoot him, and he just didn't because he had a bomb strapped to the back of his head. Ron Perlman.
It's been a long time since I've seen any of the Blade films. Ron Perlman's great. Except for in Pacific Rim.
Look, nobody came out of that well. I actually think he had one of the best lines of the whole film. It's, "Where is my goddamn shoe?"
Yes, in a film about mechs and kaiju battles, the shoe line.
The golden shoe line, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Flowing on from my new signature weapon, so I've still got the metal shield, and now I've also got the Bozarium mace.
Yeah.
My signature maneuver is going to be what gets me the name of Iron Jaw. It's going to be shield on one side of the enemy, mace against the other.
Nice.
Yeah.
Crusher.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I might just call that the Iron Jaw.
Yeah, dead set. I think so.
Yeah.
I am... For my second raise... I am going to name a signature weapon.
Cool.
A rail cannon.
Great.
This is a magnetic accelerator. Long line of. It is a rail of increasing strength magnets that, over a short distance, propel a small metallic slug. Often it's a lump of hyperdense material surrounded by a jacket of magnetic material, because the densest stuff isn't magnetic, that can accelerate it very rapidly. So it requires a fair amount of juice, but packs an absolute wallop.
Great. That potentially leads quite well to what I want my final bid to be, which is...
Before you go, I would also say that is technology that has been reverse engineered.
Cool.
Because we don't have the ability to make that. Like Earth humans don't currently have we can make huge ones. It's functionally what the Large Hadron Collider is. But that thing is enormous. This is an arm-mounted 2.5 meter long cannon, not a... Yeah. Sorry, continue.
Yes, so my bid is going to be to destroy my shield.
Nice. My final bid is going to be to destroy my rank.
Wow. Okay. Or, look, I'm happy to... I think...
Are you not allowed to destroy something you've already bid?
I think, but I'm okay with it because that's kind of cool.
Or I save it for next time because I think narratively...
Yeah, save that for next time.
I save it for next time. Yeah. In which case, you know what I'm going to destroy? The tight-knit crew who fought together for a while. I'm going to destroy my squad.
Yeah. Okay. And so I will say for the audience that there's multiple ways of interpreting that. It doesn't need to be that the squad literally gets murdered.
That is my thinking, exactly. Yeah.
It could be that Delvin's connection to them gets severed, or they are no longer support for him. But there's a few different ways of interpreting that. I just wanted to make that clear.
So I'm going to just modify this. Because, I figure they didn't die. Like, the squad, just for that first scene, weren't dead. They were just not standing currently.
Yeah.
Destroyed. Yeah, cool. Cool.
Okay. So now we decide who won. My feeling is it was you.
Yeah. I really loved your offerings. I really loved your bid, but I think I came up with some very cool things in that. I have a very strong idea of how this works, how this whole scene works.
I can tell.
I definitely think, now we describe the scene, the Peace Summit. I think this happens in the first city that was invaded, the site of the first invasion. A small part of it has been rebuilt specifically for this. It is sort of neutral territory. It's very much in sort of no man's land, and the two forces are sort of agreed on a neutral spot. I think Delvin definitely, and I think Tosh as well, are... I don't know, would Tosh have increased in rank? Or is he a grunt and chooses that way?
I think that, the real question in my mind is, do the Peacekeepers have ranks in the same way? Or are they kind of demilitarized?
So it's more of a militia structure?
Potentially. What I do think is that Tosh has been idolized and elevated based on his actions in that first confrontation.
Definitely.
I don't think he is a decision maker.
No.
But I think he probably sees himself as a figurehead. And so would be kind of wheeled out for important moments.
So I think he was assigned to protection on the Peacekeeper's side, but very prominently.
Yes.
And
I mean, I don't know how many mech confrontations there would have been, maybe a couple, I don't know, but I feel like this Bozarian mace that he now has is at least in part symbolic of the collaborative nature between the Peacekeepers and the Bozarians.
Almost in the same way the rail cannon is on Delvin. I don't think Delvin is held up as a war hero. I don't think he is an icon. He is, however, has advanced in rank. I think in a conflict where the amount of mechs is radically decreasing, first because just the industrial base to support them is no longer there. His Star isn't so much waning as there just isn't enough mechs to constitute an improvement in rank for him. He's sort of reached the top of what he can be as a company commander. So yeah, he's but he is a captain, and he was assigned, I would say possibly head of security for this on his side's part. And we should just quickly restate the things that we have bid.
Yes.
So I have bid Angel Mode, the Rail Cannon, and his rank is Captain. He was promoted to Captain, and his squad mates are destroyed. His tight-knit crew.
Yes. And what I have bid is the destruction of my signature expanding metal shield, the addition of my crystalline Bozarium mace, and my signature maneuver, the Iron Jaw, which is based on my call sign, which is shield in one hand, Bozarium mace in the other, enemy mech in the middle, squish, crush.
Yeah. Ah, very cool. What
I will say as well is the other things that we have already established do still exist. But those bids that we have just made are the defining features of this combat. Yes, so that's what is going on with there. None of those things that already existed can be pivotal to this combat.
Yeah, cool. Yes. So, cool. I would say, everything seems to be going well. The delegates are here. The Bozarium candidate, the Bozarian delegates are there under heavy guard. There is an awful lot of people smiling very thinly, but there is definitely hope in the air. And Delvin actually meets Tosh. The mechs sort of stand off against each other. Delvin deliberately causes his mech to limp more. He leans into that as he walks over to Tosh and bows. It makes a deliberate show of respect. And
Tosh will bow his mech's head.
Cool. Delvin is flanked by 3 other mechs, which are the remaining ones of his crew. Similar, one is quite large, and there is it probably has the feel to Tosh at least of a look who I've got bigger backup than you do. But most of these the mech's presence is. And is Tosh the only mech pilot there for the Peacekeepers? Would there be others?
Potentially a Bozarium mech, or like a half Bozarium, half human mech.
Yeah, new design. Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. Cool.
So I imagine it as having a metallic base with like these crystalline features jutting out of it.
Yeah. Cool. A shard splitter, a shard spitter that fires chunks of Bozarium crystalline stuff. Yeah. Nasty. Yeah. Cool. In his position as head of security, he would leave that interaction there. He wouldn't necessarily say anything to Tosh unless Tosh started a conversation. Actually, you know what he would say? He would say, "Good to see you still standing, Tosh." As he bows. Something that Tosh would know is not easy with a damaged leg.
Yeah. I'm glad to see that you've refound your place with your squad.
Not all of them survived, but some did. Glad you survived as well. Never sat right with me the way we ended it.
Look, I would like to apologize for how I reacted, and then I think whatever shit is going on is going to interrupt that.
Dead set. Yeah. So, Delvin's other trio has departed at that point, has sort of moved off. He gave them orders to secure the perimeter, their side of the perimeter. They did so, but they are under the sway of the more militant, more denialistic faction. And yes, they start killing peacekeepers. They start killing Bozarians. They just open fire. And a significant portion of the security detachment joins them. Delvin's initial response is shock, is horror. And he immediately turns and begins trying to issue orders. And I think you please do, yes.
Tosh will just yell, "You bastard," or bastards, and extend the shield and the mace to one of these squad mates that is firing.
Yeah.
And crush.
Delvin screams the name of the pilot, Blackjack, and he engages Angel mode immediately. He is far too close for his comfort to Tosh. Delvin is trying to... he flies off and gets himself distance and says, "Tosh, please, this was not my idea. This is not what we're supposed to be doing here. You did the same thing once. Try and help me calm this down."
Get your men to stand down now.
Delvin attempts to do that. Please remind me, sorry, you bid the smash, you bid the destruction of the shield. What was the third? Oh, the mace.
The mace.
Yeah. The mace comes, Delvin fires the rail cannon across the nose of his friend in the big mech, which is moving on to go for Delvin, to go for Tosh. And he is trying to sort of keep them apart. He is trying to do what Tosh did. But his mech is smaller, lighter. He can't stand between these two. He'll just get smushed. A large metal flail comes down to drag along the ground behind this large mech as it lumbers towards him. And it swings overhead, and Tosh blocks, but it just destroys this shield. Just completely shatters Tosh's shield. I would say it wraps around it, and then is pulled back, and just the whole shield is just wrenched off the arm. Tosh then responds by swinging his mace up, just uses the momentum brought on from that to swing back with his mace and crushes the cockpit of Delvin's other friend. At which point Delvin receives orders from his command, demanding his action, demanding his participation. There were some had dressed up as peacekeepers, and had opened fire from the peacekeeper side, but it was like Delvin does not know this at this point. So yes, he receives information that the peacekeepers started this. Misinformation. He receives it from one of the commanders who is sort of inciting all of this. And Delvin refuses to assist in the butchery.
I think that Tosh is seeing red at this point. He is seeing 3. Is it 3 or 4?
There is only 2 left now, because Tosh killed 2 of them.
Yeah, he's seeing 4 enemy mechs most of which have just started firing. I think that the Bozarian mech is shooting these crystal shards at the
remaining one?
squad mate. Yep. Which pierces through the cockpit.
Yep.
And just kills the pilot and keeps the mech. At
which point Delvin will shout out, Sarah. And enough is enough. He was like, well, I tried, and I've just been told by my commander that they started this. Fine. And the rail cannon spits out as he rockets through the air on his plume of jet exhaust and slashes the legs off this Bozarian mech. He comes down in front of Tosh and says, there, no more mechs, just you and I. We don't have to do this. And Tosh is, as you say, seeing red, and almost not really thinking, goes for his signature move again, goes to crush Delvin.
Yeah.
But he doesn't have the shield now. Delvin ducks his mech, demonstrates his bow from before, and swings underneath the arm, and then turns his rear on Tosh and engulfs him in jet exhaust, as he takes off again. The blast knocking Tosh's mech back on its ass.
Yeah.
And Delvin is going to disengage and lead his troops the remains of his troops in a retreat, because this is not a position they can hold. This is not a salient they can hold. And yeah, I think that's the scene.
Yeah, fantastic. Cool.
Cool. There you go.
That was very cool.
Hectic.
Can I ask, before we resolve this scene and start on the next, can we have a quick break?
Yes. My intent was actually not to go for this long, but I'm loving it.
Yes.
Let's have a quick break, mate. I will pop a break screen on, and we will have a quick breaklet. Yes. We will be back 5 minutes, guys, to finish off this incredible story that we wound up telling.
Yes.
It was not my plan to play this whole game, but yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
Alrighty.
Fantastic.
I'll see you in a minute. Say goodbye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Fast and ahoy once again to ye mateys. We be back. Just a quick breaklet there to refresh ourselves, but yes, we need to come back and finish telling this awesome story we're telling in the Last Shooting RPG system, which is really fun and based on the Final Bid system. By, who was it? Liberi. Nope, I can't remember. The people who wrote the game, or the people who published the game, but it is gone from my memory. Never mind. Okay, so, Scene 3. The war is coming to an end, and everyone knows it. What they can't agree on is who will win. You know that this means you'll be seeing that pilot again soon. They would never give up the chance to settle this once and for all, and neither will you. Answer the background questions for your pilot, and then set the scene together. Then follow the special instructions for Scene 3 auctions. So, what does your pilot want from the other player's pilot? Liberi Gothica, that's the one. Thank you.
Yeah. I got you.
Yes. So yeah, what does your pilot want from the other pilot?
Sorry, before we do this, we need to give out the rewards from...
Oh, yes.
From the previous scene. So if you missed this before, Josh has to decide whether one of us seizes a resource or whether I will lose one.
Yeah. I think as he's pulling back, Delvin will take the cannon. The Berzonium cannon off the downed hybrid mech.
The Shard Blaster.
That's Shard Blaster. Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah.
So I will put that on my data sheet down here. Shard Blaster. It would probably be a signature weapon too, but I'm not obliged to put it there, am I?
You're not. In fact, I believe you can put it in an extra space.
Yeah, you can just write it wherever, which is what I've done, yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I think that makes the most sense. I don't think in that particular moment he wanted Tosh to suffer or lose anything more. Nerds of the West is raiding as well. Raiders, thank you so much for the raid. Nerd Situated Curve, thanks so much. Finger guns in chat. Pew, 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 pew. Guys, thank you for the raid. Brendan and I are discussing, well, we're actually playing, but it is sort of discussing a new RPG system neither of us have really tried before called Last Shooting. The rulebook is all of 26 pages long, so it's pretty easy to get your head around. The rules are incredibly simple. All you have to be is nice to each other. Basically focus on the fact that you're working together to tell a story rather than win a game. But yeah, it's really fun. I think the story we're creating is extremely cool. It feels very much like the first meeting of two people who are going to co-author a sci-fi novel. So yeah, nerds, that is what we are doing. What were you doing this evening? I will just type ! Shout out at Nerds of the West, and we will find out what they were doing. They were playing The Quarry. Ooh, exciting.
That's one of those new
Co-op
narrative-based games. It's the new Until Dawn.
Cool. Well, Nerds of the West, thank you so much. Beck was playing The Quarry. I see. Well, guys, for those of you who don't know them, Nerds of the West are an incredible West Australian Twitch channel and YouTube channel as well. They do actual plays of board games, card games, and video games. On the weekend, they go to their studio and they play board games together. I've gone over and played with them a couple of times. Super fun. Super spiritual successor, not really a sequel. Okay, well there you go. We do something a little differently. And on Friday night they do have a D&D stream, and it's very good. It is set in as they are the members of a police force, set in a sort of urban fantasy setting. Very cool. Well, guys, yeah, we are telling a story in a very, very traditional sense. Well, it's more like the game is really just a sort of structure around which you tell a story. So let us continue, Brendan. We have just we've won one round each, and I won the last one. So I suppose I should go first, because now at the beginning of scene 3 we answer some questions. What does your pilot want from the other player's pilot? And it's a tricky one because I'm actually not sure Delvin wants anything. Possibly vengeance.
What about respect?
Yeah, actually valid, completely valid. That is what he wants. Because he is angry that you killed 2 of his friends, but he isn't unreasonable, he isn't stupid, he can understand why you did it. So I don't think he hates you for it. Or hates Tosh for it, rather. So yeah, respect would probably be it. And yeah, it's almost daddy issues. He's 14 years younger.
Yes. What does Tosh want from Delvin? I think he didn't realize it at the time, but on reflection, I think he realizes that Delvin wasn't one of the hostile forces. So he wants... How would you define that? He wants...
Absolution?
Assistance, an olive branch.
Yeah. He wants a peace gesture.
Yeah, I'm gonna call it an olive branch because that's...
Sure. I love it.
a biblical kind of way of putting it.
Yeah, absolutely. What would you think of each other if you had met in more peaceful times? I suspect Delvin would think that Tosh is boring. Or a bit of a conservative old fuddy-duddy. Which is interesting, because he was the one who was prepared to change.
Yeah.
Dour, grim, but nice enough bloke, just boring, I think.
I think that Tosh would have seen the potential and the spark of life in Delvin and been inspired by that.
I think that would then feed quite nicely into itself then, because if in this hypothetical situation where they did get to meet and Tosh was inspired by Delvin's ideology and his spark of life, as you say, then I think there could have been a mentor-mentee bond between them very easily in different circumstances.
Yeah.
If you did leave the war before this final battle, what would be waiting for you? Is Tosh's family still alive?
Yeah, I think that's what he's fighting for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think... almost a cheat, but I don't think very much at all. I think this war has taken basically everything from Delvin. I think... Yeah, I think there is basically, if you did leave the war before the final battle, what would you be waiting for you? Loneliness.
Oblivion. Yeah.
Not oblivion, but loneliness. A lack of purpose.
Yeah.
Unsurety. I think that's probably the big thing. He is unsure. He doesn't know. He's given that thought. I think he is a lack of purpose. I think he is quite disillusioned with his cause at this point, but also knows he probably wouldn't be welcome in the other camp, and has a pretty strong feeling about deserters. He also still does not disagree with the point. He's still... I don't think his belief in the cause has changed. He thinks I think the cause has changed.
Yeah. Yes.
So I don't think much at all. I think everything he had, everything he's ever been, is sort of related to the cause that he no longer truly believes in. Since he was 16, he was fighting this war. And then the war changed and it shifted around him, and he didn't actually get to choose the side he wound up being on.
Yeah. Yeah, that's sad.
Yeah. It's deep and meaningful, and we're trying not to go sad with it, but yeah. But it is. So, set the scene for the final battle, the turning point of the war. Feel free to use one of the suggestions to set up the scene in the final encounter, or come up with your own. In the heart of the largest battle this war has seen, or alone, just the two of you, in a desolate place. I think
I want to hear your thoughts on this, because it's Delvin left the last scene in an interesting kind of position with his faction. So, keeping in mind that this confrontation has to be between our pilots, or at least our pilots need to feature in opposing sides.
Yeah.
What do you... Because I would love for this to be a Delvin changes to the other side and we fight the baddies, but that ain't what this game is.
No. I do have a thought on that, but I think it's different. I think these two are like the last mech standing. I think they are the last two pilots that this reignition of conflict, which the peace treaty, the peace talks had, were building up to, because things were winding down. The war, everybody was tired of it. Everyone was growing tired of it. And now a brand new influx on the Workers' United side. An awful lot of propaganda was put out about how you can't trust the peacekeepers. They're selling out humanity. And it sparked a whole new wave of recruitment and... or people signing up, and then the peacekeepers had to rearm, but there's still no infrastructure to support it, so there's very few new mechs being built, and I just don't think there's very many left. And so I like the idea of this is the largest battle, the last battle and it is an all-out, guns-blazing assault by the Workers United on a sort of the primary, I think, and you can obviously disagree with me here, I think that the Peacekeepers deliberately set up a cohabitation city with the Pomeranians, the Bozarians, as a demonstration of we can live in harmony, this can work, we can be peaceful. And so the leadership of the Workers United targeted that and sent an all-out attack force to destroy their symbol.
Yeah.
And also the highest concentration of Bozarians left on the planet.
Yeah.
And we meet in the middle of that as two of the very last mechs, probably the last mechs for several hundred meters in any direction, like on this particular bit of the front. And I almost imagine it like trench warfare.
So do you imagine that we were called in to be a part of this battle after it had already started?
Tosh may have been. I don't think Delvin was. I think Delvin was there. I think Delvin has always fought. I think he's always gone with it. But I think at this point he feels like he has no other choice.
So he was one of the initiators?
I don't think initiators. I think he obeyed orders.
Yeah. But my point is he was present.
They are the
when
aggressors.
The fighting started.
Yes. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Would Tosh have been wheeled out as an example, as a symbol, or is he? We need another mech on the front.
I like the idea that he wasn't present for the start of the fighting. I like the idea narratively that Delvin was expecting to see Tosh here.
Yeah.
And is kind of like, where the hell is he? Yeah, I don't have any particular idea for where he would have been other than patrolling, or that he potentially there was another kind of distracting force
maybe
elsewhere.
Yeah. Or had he tried to step down? Had he tried to go home? Had he tried to just leave it all behind him? And they called and said, "This is happening. The thing you fought for is standing to be destroyed."
Yeah. No, I think that's what it is. Yeah, he had tried to retire, and they put him back in.
Yeah, again.
Again. Yes.
Tosh is the living embodiment of the phrase, "I'm too old for this shit."
Yes. Yeah.
Cool. Alrighty, there you have it. That's the setting. Alrighty. So each player may raise a maximum of 3 times. Each player must bid to define when they buy in, as usual, but everyone after can be defining or destroying.
Yeah. Are you happy for me to start since you started last time?
Very happy to. Yep, go for your life.
Great. Look, this is the culmination of everything that, at the very least, the Peacekeepers faction stands for. I'm going to bid a distinct look for Tosh, that he took a lot of damage in that last confrontation. So he is now part crystalline Bozarium.
Okay, cool. So, wow. Alrighty.
Yeah.
Is this like an infection, or this was a choice?
No, this was something to save his life.
A medical procedure. Cool. Yeah. Using, oh wow. Yeah, there's definitely, I could see why the Workers United are not okay with that. You're putting their stuff in your bodies now? They're not even human anymore. That is so easy. Yeah. Love it. I absolutely love it. Cool. Alrighty. I bid a loved one. Sarah.
Mm-hmm.
the pilot who the Bozarium Shard Blaster killed. They had a thing going. It wasn't. They hadn't finalized anything. They hadn't formalized anything. But yeah, he thought of her as his future.
Yeah. Okay.
And I think the important part is actually future.
Yeah. That he feels that he no longer has one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't know how you go about destroying that, but...
Well, I was thinking, that's kind of already destroyed, but
yeah.
The fact
it's introducing it into the story at the first, yeah.
Yeah, the fact that this is the last confrontation doesn't really, it doesn't matter too much anyway.
Yeah.
And don't forget you've got that Shard Blaster as well.
I do.
Okay. Now, look, what I wanted to add, it might undermine your idea of these being the last two mechs, so...
Oh no, that's fine. I don't imagine that they're the last two, but they're some of the last.
Yeah. I was thinking about defining this other Bozarium mech as a squad mate, but I might see if there's anything else that would be spicy or interesting.
Oh sure.
To add. Let's see. Okay. Yeah, let's keep going with this theme. The unique. I'm going to bid a unique customization, which is the M26. The M260 is also has Bozarium crystals embedded in it.
Cool. I am going to destroy my captaincy.
Yeah.
I think he lost his rank at the debacle and his subsequent refusal to go along with the generals. And his sort of standing his ground about that. It was like, no, I saw who shot first and it was not them. I think, yeah, he lost his rank.
Yeah, brilliant. I mean, I'm just looking at interesting things for me to destroy, but most of it is kind of redundant. Oh look, let's destroy the mace. We'll destroy the Bozarium mace.
Sure. I am going to define his reputation. As maybe not the best, but the last one standing. That, how to put it? No, here you go. His reputation is the last true believer. It's, I think, how the brass think of him. I think it's also how a lot of the new intake think of him as this guy who holds to what they used to be rather than what they fight for now, and he's rather outspoken about it.
Yeah. I think it's also a way for them to kind of control him.
Yeah, absolutely. Liberi! Hey buddy, just
Hello.
stopping by before you going to bed. How are you holding up, Josh? Yeah, not great, mate. I have currently got involuntary shivers. It's super fun. Doesn't help that my house is freaking cold because we've had the windows and doors open all day because our housemate doesn't have COVID yet and we don't want her to get it. And a breeze is helpful for that. But yeah, I'm okay. I'm doing all right. Like I'm capable of thought and movement. I'm just not capable of typing very well at the moment. Yeah, not too bad though. I can't paint for shit, irritatingly. Which is something I normally do when I'm sick. I normally pick up a paintbrush. But yeah, I just can't control my fingers well enough at the moment.
All right, I am going to bid my reputation to define my reputation as the last bastion.
All right, last bastion. I am going. My final bid.
Yeah.
I am going to destroy the Shard Blaster.
Okay. Cool.
Do I get to define how, or do I just say it is destroyed? Not really,
just
do
say
I?
That it is destroyed.
I am going to destroy it. Yeah.
Yeah, but the way that we are playing this,
Yeah.
I'm sure you will get a chance to
Yeah.
shape that anyway.
Destroyed. Yeah. Cool. Done. Yeah, Nelderberry, we're playing Last Shooting. It is a mech combat game, but it's entirely theater of the mind. It is sort of designed that way, and you basically, sort of bids and raises on story elements that you're throwing in, and then you collaboratively describe the scene, or at least the way Brendan and I are playing it, you collaboratively describe the scene, but you first agree which one of you has bid the more interesting elements. That person won the round and gets to decide the course of the fight. So yeah, there we have it. So we're
now at that point.
We are now at that point.
Have to figure out who won. So go ahead and summarize what you bid for us.
I have defined my loved one as Sarah, the woman who, one of my squad mates, who had turned on, had actually betrayed my faction, but I don't really see that. And I always perceived her as my future, possibly the love of my life. I have then destroyed... I'd also defined my reputation as being the last true believer. And it actually just says last believer. I'll change in a minute. Last true believer. How good. There we go. I destroyed my rank of captain. Gotta bail. Take care, Nelderberry. See you soon. Destroyed that rank. I don't know if he's now a common trooper, but he's certainly not a captain anymore. And I destroyed the Shard Blaster that he took as a prize at the end of the last combat.
I have defined... I have destroyed my second signature weapon, the Bozerium Mace, the crystalline mace. I have defined that the Bozerium crystal is now a part of the mech.
Can I further define that?
Yeah, please.
That it's shards from the mace?
Well...
Oh, no, sorry.
At the moment,
no, it wouldn't be. No.
Still...
Yeah, the mace is still good. Sorry, my bad.
No, that's okay. If anything, probably shards from the other...
Other mech. Yeah.
Yeah. My distinct look is that I myself am now part crystal, part Bozerium after the injuries that I took in the last combat. And my reputation is the last bastion.
And now we have to discuss and agree who bid the more meaningful things. Meaningful is the key word in the rules, as stated. But I think the way we're playing it is really just the thing that creates a cooler scene or a cooler story. And this one's a hard one.
It is a hard one.
I think this is the closest. What do you reckon, Brendan?
It's really hard to say. I'm obviously biased towards myself.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
I think it's why we're
Yeah.
both hedging our way around it. I was just like, I
Yeah.
think mine's cooler, but his is very cool. Probably because you have an idea for the scene you want to play, and I have an idea for the scene I want to play, and it leans into the things we've come up with.
I mean, it's interesting because I wasn't able to destroy much, but my mech and my body are now kind of committed to this ideal that I've been fighting for, which is its own kind of sacrifice. But you have destroyed a few things as part of your bid. But I think what it comes down to, and we can obviously go back and forth on this, but I think it comes down to our reputations. The last bastion versus the last true believer. And my feeling is that Tosh believes in his reputation. I'm not sure if Delvin does.
Yeah. But that's why I think it's because, and as you said, it's being used to control him. And the rules for a tiebreaker are destroy something.
Yeah. I'm going
Which I would destroy my reputation.
I was going to say the same thing. Yeah. Destroy your reputation.
Yeah. I think, it is eventually proved that he isn't.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I think
Josh,
it does need a GM to call that sort of thing, though. Because we were both heading towards it.
I do, like, that's literally the tiebreaker. I mean, it doesn't help that I forgot about the tiebreaker mechanic. But yeah, that's exactly what that mechanic is used for.
And I know it's not necessarily in the spirit of it, but I think what happens is this, and let me just find the appropriate music. I have been changing the music for each one, by the way.
I cannot hear it, as you know, but that's a shame.
I'm not doing full sound sets, but yeah, we've currently got the Avernus rock music going on. So the way I see it is, yes, Delvin Harbinger, rather, is now leaning in a little bit more into this call sign, this angel of death thing. He's got, because of his angel mode, this whole true believer thing has turned him really sour. And yeah, he is... any kindness he had left is gone. And then striding through the mists of this, like, mustard gas-infested trench warfare, boggy ground outside the walls of these once pristine, shard, crystalline walls of this city, strides this hybrid mech that he vaguely recognizes. He receives an order in his earpiece. Go get him, Sergeant. From the general who he has worked out ordered the whole thing. He looks down at his dash and sees the little Polaroid of him and Sarah leaning against the leg of her mech. And he arms the Shard Blaster. It's now become his favored means of killing people. And he thinks, he's twisted in his head, that if Tosh had acted in concert with him rather than in opposition to him, that Sarah wouldn't be dead. And he charges. He brings his mech up to a limping run, firing the shard blaster, replacing the shards in your carapace with different shards. And these just sort of shrug off. The shards are pretty much immune to themselves. It's only the metal, it's only the human-made stuff that is actually vulnerable. It really does earn you the Last Bastion nickname, because there's just no damaging this thing. It just sort of storms through. And yeah, he's not even trying to avoid getting into melee with you. He switches to the rail cannon, and then the shard mace swings down. And
can I interject? Tosh's shield arm has been destroyed. It's now replaced with just this was a reconstituted bulldozer.
Yeah.
And so back on that arm is just a regular old bulldozer blade. Which, as Delvin gets into melee, he swings up and over and brings down on top of the shard blaster.
Absolutely. Destroys it. It doesn't, the shard blaster itself, the bits of it that are shards don't break, but the attachment, the firing mechanism is just wrenched off his side. And Delvin staggers to the side and then jets into the air on a plume of fire, and looses a blast from the rail cannon. And this, he wasn't aiming for it, but it just connects with the tip of the mace, and it just shatters into dozens of splinters.
I feel like the mace had been shot out to try to chase Delvin.
Yeah. It's just a sweep through the air, and Delvin fires on reflex and just nails the head of the mace. The head of the mace shatters and peppers both cockpits with razor filaments of this mace head, and tears the canopies off, just destroys both sets of windshields. Yeah. Delvin comes down, lands on his one good leg, poised about 20 meters away from Tosh, and sees the other man, this old man at this point, with the shards sticking out of his face. With the shards implanted down the left-hand side of his body, in an odd mimicry of his mech. And then he catches his reflection in his wing mirror, and sees that he looks not dissimilar. These razor shards are in his flesh as well, and where they are, they've already stopped up the bleeding.
Can I...
Please do.
This dozer blade is still working. It extends to behind Delvin in a mirror of their first confrontation, pulls the mech to him. The shards that are now partially making up Tosh's mech pierce into Delvin's mech. They are next to each other. Tosh unbuckles, stands up. Their cockpits are face to face, and Tosh jumps over into Delvin's cockpit, and says, I have to do what I can to live up to my name. And sighs and then starts to beat down on Delvin, but he's tired and old.
Delvin just takes it. And he takes it for 20 seconds as Tosh just wails on him. And yeah. Then he says, "How do you do it, old man? How do you keep faith so long?"
I've got something to fight for.
Heck, maybe that's the difference then. I don't even know why I'm doing this.
I'll defend them with my life if I have to.
I always knew you'd do that. And then Delvin hears through his headset his general screaming. "Now, boy, take him now! Sergeant, that's an order!" And Delvin pushes...
Tosh will say, not hearing that, Tosh will say, "You can't really believe in all this, can you?"
Delvin grimaces and then says, "Hold on," and kicks out, knocking the it's a backwards kick, knocking the mech clear, knocking the dozer blade clear or partially clear. He swings his mech around and targets the command post instead. The command post of his own faction, where the general's screaming voice is coming down the line. And with the only cannon capable of reaching that far, he fires out with his rail cannon and annihilates the reinforced bunker the general's in. And he... yeah. Then he takes a step back and repositions the cockpits next to each other again.
Tosh will pat Delvin's shoulder, leap back over to his cockpit and call out. He sits back in his seat, reclines, doesn't bother with any of the safety precautions or buckle, and says, "You'll protect them, won't you?"
Of course.
Then do it.
Ooh. Yeah. Delvin steps back, swings his rail cannon around and aims it directly at Tosh's cockpit. Then at the very last second, he bows. The entire mech tilts about 30 degrees down, and the cannon fires, destroying the legs of Tosh's mech. And Delvin then says into an open comm frequency broadcast through the armored fins on the back of his mech.
They were helpful.
Yeah, I used them once. Should have destroyed them ages ago. Never mind. Says, "Stand down. This is Captain Steele." This is Captain Steele. Stand down.
Harbinger.
This is Harbinger. Stand down. Done all we can here. and the word starts going out along both sides. And I think that's where I'd leave it.
That's where we leave it. Fantastic. That was cool. There is an ending section, but I don't know if we necessarily need it.
Can I tell you what I think I would, the scene I would see?
Yeah, please.
Tosh sitting at his dinner table, a rough wooden cabin with his family, a roaring fire in the corner, and then there's a knock on the door. They're having dinner, something humble like stew, and then there's a knock on the door, and his wife goes and gets the door, and in walks Delvin, and they sit down for they've invited him to family dinner.
Yeah.
And he's got some shards. Not many, but a bit. There you go.
Yeah. Fantastic.
That was awesome. I like this game.
Yeah, it's very cool.
Yeah.
It's really interesting because that felt like Tosh won.
Yeah. That was what I was going for.
Yeah.
Because I feel like I stole it.
I think it was the closest to a collaborative kind of reconciliation that they could have gotten.
I think it was what they were going for. Like, I think it's what we were winding up going for with these characters. They didn't hate each other. They didn't even dislike each other. By the end of it, they respected the hell out of each other. Yeah. Very cool. Tony Karlstrom. Yes, Tony Karlstrom will be running a one-shot on Wednesday next week here on Corsair's Cove. How exciting. In the Mutant Chronicles system.
Cool.
A system I have never run before or played in. I was going to ask Brendan after the stream, but if you're interested, Brendan, you'd be very welcome. Tony will explain the rules. Apparently it can be done in about 20 minutes. I
am free next Wednesday.
How exciting. Well, guys, we've been going for a good long while now, so we should probably go away from here. Brendan, thank you so much for coming and joining me. This has been extremely fun. This is the first time we've actually played the game, rather than just talking about the game. It would have been a very short thing if we just talked about it.
Yes.
But that was super cool. I really enjoyed it. That was a really cool story. So, Brendan, who the absolute heck are you?
I am Brendan. I'm an actor and director. I'm Brenser in chat. I am a theatre maker. I am a storyteller. I love stories like this. This game kind of defines my approach to, or exemplifies my approach to tabletop RPGs.
Absolutely.
Although, as has been pointed out in our Humblewood stream, I really get into the mechanics and the strategy and tactics of those combat systems as well. This was a really neat...
Pure storytelling.
Pure storytelling, full of cinematic moments, which was very cool.
Yeah. Definitely. And Madame et Monsieur, Dame und Herren, and beings of indeterminate gender or persuasion, I be Josh the Pirate. You can find me here on my channel, Corsair's Cove, where I run D&D and other TTRPG systems. This is actually, dead set, the first non-5e D&D game we've ever had on the channel. It was not our intent. We just did it. There you go. Wow, we broke the seal without even intending to. But it has been super cool. If you like my face and voice, you can find me over on our Dana's channel tomorrow night for more D&D, where I'll be playing Susan Del Cray, Susan of the Swamp, or Susan the Seer, depending on who you ask. She is a hedge sorceress, and a very cool person, and we're going to be doing some Strahd-based shenanigans. Then Thursday night, in theory, we will be having the finale of Humblewood Monsters and Magic, where you will find Brendan again, playing the totally cool and groovy Eric.
Hates murder.
Who makes really good, sensible decisions that everyone can agree on. Yep. And guys, before we go away any further or say anything else, I need to thank Sirenscape for the music. We have been playing it all evening. They are blasting that music through to your ear holes, and it's sirenscape.com is what's providing it. Head over there, you get a month's free subscription. It's super handy, super useful thing, can strongly endorse. I also want to talk very quickly about Ukraine. Ukraine is undergoing a bit of an invasion right now by Russians, which is suboptimal for them. So that link there in chat is for the Emergency Action Appeal, which is a group of charities and not-for-profits that have come together to see if they can't help the people who have been displaced by the violence. Over 11 million Ukrainians have thus far lost their homes, and we've raised nearly over $4 million to help them, but that's not nearly enough. So if you have any pennies in your digital wallet, please consider donating to that cause. It is a very, very good one. Other than that, if you enjoyed the show this evening, please check us out on our socials. The links are there. Check us out on our Tube of You there, and check us out on our Discord there. It would be groovy to talk to any and all of you. We had some really cool stuff. We got a mech drawn for us this evening, and that's up in the Discord if you want to have a look. Very exciting, very cool. Right, well, I think that's all the things we need to talk about. So, Brendan, we'll go away from here now. Thanks very much for joining me, mate. It's been an absolute pleasure. Guys, we need to raid. That was the last thing. I knew there was a thing. So who
Before we eject from our cockpits, let's raid.
Exactly. Let's raid someone as we eject from our cockpits. Raid. Who to raid? We could raid Flansois. Let's raid Flansois or Phoenixy Wacky. Let's raid Flansois. I like that. They are playing D&D. So here we go. We will start that raid up now. Throw your favorite raid emotes up in chat. Tell them where you came from. Spread the love. Smash that follow button. And thank you for coming and hanging out with us. I noticed that we have had a new follower this evening, but I can't read the name because it's gone down below. So thank you, whoever followed. Good on you, you bloody champion. And I will start that raid up now, guys, and we will go away from here. So say goodbye, Brendan.
Bye-bye.